Good morning. Hello, everyone. It's me, Lauren Cadillac, aka OG Cadillac, aka Mother of the Decade, aka your favorite internet lawyer. Good morning. Well, I'm excited to see everyone here, and I have some news. I think it's actually really pretty thrilling news. Okay. I have officially been demonetized. I guess advertisers don't like the truthiness. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I have to figure out why YouTube is mad at me and then try to figure out how to fix their irritation with me, and then I don't know. Maybe I can monetize again. I don't know. So if you want to support us, I appreciate it. I would ask that you read the ticker and or use the Cashapp. So it's been a hell of a week, y'all. Good morning, Hipista. Good morning, Micah. Good morning, Michael. Have I taught y'all what a directed verdict is? I don't know if we've talked about specifically. I feel like I had. I feel like somewhere I talked about directed verdict and what that means. So we're going to get into that this week, today. Oh, so excited about the directed verdict, you guys. Like, that is a top-notch lawyer shit. And, so I'll get into it now. Why not? One time in my career so far have had a directed verdict. What a directed verdict is: when the prosecution or the petitioner, the plaintiff, rests their case. The defense then has an opportunity to go and turn to the judge and say, look, there are all these elements in these crimes, and they didn't meet their burden of proof on whatever. So please just direct a verdict and don't even bother the jury in wasting their time. It's really rare because a judge is not usually going to have a jury seated and then be like, oh, never mind. Typically, also, another reason it's really weird is because most lawyers have some kind of crime or civil issue that they can prove. Most lawyers I don't file a lawsuit unless I know I can meet the elements of that piece that I'm going for on the lawsuit, right? So directed verdicts are very rare because lawyers are supposed to pretty much know how to do their job. But not in Fulton County. Hi, Purple Paradox. Welcome. If your membership was canceled, that's because I made the YouTube gods mad and we are demonetized until February. That's okay. That gives me plenty of time to figure out how to make my memberships better. Okay, so one thing that is super interesting to me is that the defense had a bunch of experts lined up that would be talking about lyrics and how lyrics are used and, what type of... But they have opted to not even present a defense. Morning, K-Way. The defense... Hi, Torta Mom. The defense has opted to not even present a defense. That says a lot about the prosecution. Morning, Red Bunny. Good to see you. The fact that the defense has decided that they don't even need to put on a case, The fact that the defense has decided, nah, we don't even need to show any evidence, tells you how confident they are that they're going to win this jury over. I mean, they are confident that this jury is going to side with them. And for good reason. They just got a directed verdict. If you get a directed verdict, you should feel pretty good. Pretty good. Okay. So this week, we'll get into it. We'll recap and we'll talk about everything. It was a very exciting week. I'm very thrilled. All right, here we go. Oh, and I'm in my new studio. We got the decor hung, and Belinda helped me figure out how to get my screen settings right. So now you can actually see the screen. Yay! Thanks, Belinda. Okay, here we go. This is Monday.
Hello? Yeah.
What the hell they got Shannon for?
I don't know.
Okay, so Viverito is still on the stand. All right. Monday morning, Viverito, whose face, I don't know why we can't show it. It's on my thumbnail. She's in the Woody video. She claims to be Woody's friend, you know. So, like, we know what she looks like. Anyhow, she is still on the stand, and right now they're listening to some jail calls.
Trying to call when, like, him and Clay got on a high-speed chase to the Baba house.
Yeah.
Why the hell he in a high-speed chase if he in a rental? His rental legit.
Yeah.
He got my legit gun. Like, what the hell was in the car that made him say he wasn't Ken?
How does that help the state? That was weird. Torta says, you mean Viverito. Yes, Viverito is an interesting character.
You asking like what's going on? Like,
Boring.
I don't know.
What the hell?
Like.
Okay, I understand that this jury lives in Atlanta, so they might understand what these people are saying in these phone calls better than me, but I don't understand a fucking word that is being said in these calls. Like, they need some kind of interpreter for that. I'm like, what?
Now I want to publish April 3rd, 2022 at 9:10 p.m.
Okay, more phone calls. I'm playing this at 1.5 and it's still slow.
Hey, D?
Yeah.
What the hell going on, bro? Damn, dude, your boy, D?
Okay, just brief moment. Yak was wearing these bow ties the whole week and I loved them. I know it was his birthday week. Happy birthday, Yak. This suit is gorgeous. I love that he accidentally matched with Schardt. It's wonderful. I love, 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 love the bow tie.
Man, that's what I'm trying to say.
I know, I got a goddamn, I had to be on.
Did anyone understand that? Did anyone understand what was just said on that call?
You set the phone, they say they know now. I had to set the phone, she was tripping. Hey, but look, yeah, hey, I'm cool. Like, look, tell bro, when Charlotte called, tell him to make sure he called, because I think he's on classification flow. Yeah, so tell him when he calls, tell brother to call me on 3.
Okay. That's all I hear. I cannot make out what the hell they're saying. Oh, god damn. It's like, what the fuck? If I was a juror and I have been wasting a year of my life on this, I would be so irritated. Like, how dare you play these stupid tapes? I can't understand a word anyone's saying. Put an interpreter out here. Get me an interpreter. All right, so we're flushing ahead to Shannon's tattoos because I thought they were pretty prolific.
513 would be the photographs of Mr. Stillwell's tattoos, and then starting at 518 would be the photographs of Mr. Kendrick's tattoos.
And those appear to be fair and accurate depictions of the images that were taken as a result of the search warrant you took out.
They do.
Your Honor, this time the state would like to admit 513 VV through 526 VV into evidence. And permission to publish.
Aw, Shannon's like reassuring him. Did you see that? Did you see that? The little arm shake? That was cute. Okay. You know what's tacky? You know what's really tacky? Tattooing a car logo on your chest. Just saying.
Looking at 513, who are we looking at 513?
Mr. Silva.
And are you able to tell from this image if he had a tattoo along his neck?
I am.
Okay. And what if anything did that tattoo say?
Omerta.
And have you heard that term before?
I have.
What is your understanding of omerta?
Typically favored by members of the Goodfellas. It's meaning the code of silence.
Now, there's also a tattoo that says, the price of loyalty is wealth, and the price of disloyalty is death.
Yes.
Now, looking at 514, BB. Oh, no, let's stay on. Sorry, we can go back to 513.
Honestly, these are really bad tattoos. Like, whoever did these was like his friend or something, because this is, he did not, these are not professional tattoos. Good morning, Nene. Hey, Jason. Hi, Robert.
On the, all right. And
The left side, or on his right side, and on his left side.
the omerta tattoo, where's the omerta tattoo?
Across his neck.
And then the tattoo that I read, the price of loyalty is wealth, and the price of disloyalty is death. Where's that located?
On the upper right portion of his chest.
Now looking at 514, BB. Looking at 515, BB, do you see a tattoo on his arm?
I do.
Okay. And are you able to see the top of that tattoo?
I am.
Okay. What does it say?
It says blood money, but there's a purposeful misspelling of the word blood with the O's replaced with the 5-9.
What's the significance of the 5-9?
Mr. Stillwell has, I'm not sure he still does or not, claimed affiliation previously with the 5-9 brim set of bloods. They'll use the 5-9, or sometimes with, when we talked about 9 deuce earlier, you'll see the O's get replaced by 9-2. So,
Y'all, what is this? What is this thing under the BL590? What is that? Is that his grandma wearing a mask? What is that? Is that, what is that? Someone wearing a mask? Is this hair? Is this Benjamin Franklin? Like, what is this? I know this says money. I know the word money, okay? I love me some money. But what the is this? These are the ugliest tattoos I've ever seen. You know, Kayla Bumpus is actually married to this man, and she will have to look at these ugly tattoos for the rest of her life. Congratulations, Kayla.
in this case, he replaced the O's with the 5-9.
Torta says it's a cookie. It's like a cookie with eyeballs, though. So weird.
516, BB.
Okay.
Are you able to read the tattoo that's on the left side of his neck?
I am.
What does it say?
Family before all.
And looking at 517, BB.
2 face, 1 tear. It's hard to read.
Fad. Yes, his tattoo artist should be fad. Hey, how tell me how family before all shows that you're in a, like, don't most people put, like, isn't family first kind of, isn't that kind of like the Republican lingo? Like, isn't that one of their mottos? I don't know.
In the middle portion.
And you can show the jury on the big screen.
2 face, 1 tear.
What's that even mean?
Now looking at Stacey's exhibit 518, BB.
That's what I think it is, Red Bunny. I think it's Benjamin Franklin with a rag over his head.
Looking at 518, BB.
Okay, so this is Yak.
Mr. Kendricks.
And I want to go to 520, BB. Looking on
No.
Mr. Kendrick's right arm, do you see a tattoo?
I do.
And what does it say?
In green, you can see the word slap.
Guess what, y'all? Guess what? I have words tattooed on my right arm also. Right there. I have words on my right arm also. Lock my ass up. Slat is a word. And it's a stupid word. And it's just a stupid word that kids use. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand. I know, Nene, but I've seen some very beautiful jail tattoos in my lifetime, okay? My first, well, I guess he had his jail version covered. I had my high school boyfriend, his dad was a professional artist, and they, I don't know why, but in the 60s, well, I know why they got high. His dad and some friends got high, and then they pirated a ship, literally pirated a ship off the coast of California, and then they got arrested in Hawaii and then, taken to federal prison, right? So when he was in the Fed for pirate, he was like the professional tattoo artist. Like, that was what he did. So those were really good tattoos. Like, he did really beautiful, high quality. I mean, they were with pens and, like safety pins and stuff, but they were really nice. They weren't stupid looking like those other ones. So you can get good art. Yeah, Tortabom, he did. The 60s were a very special time. So I guess what this man did, this was my high school boyfriend's father. He and his friends, I guess it was like two other friends, they commandeered a boat and they got outside of like where the U.S. owned the water. So they're in like international water. And they put the captain and the people from the boat on a miniature boat with a month worth of goods and sent them back to the U.S. And they stole the boat. So he did like 7 years in the Fed for that. Before my boyfriend was born. Anyhow, he was an artist, and the people who got his art in the gang had some nice ass art, okay? So you can get good art in jail. All right, back to this dumbass word, slat. I swear slat is like a piece of, like, this is a slat, right? Like right here, this brick. Like, you use little slats to make houses or something, I think. I don't know. And look at that Audi belly button, y'all.
And again, as part of your investigation with the YSL gang itself, have you seen that terminology?
I have.
And do you have an understanding based on your investigation what slat means?
Yes.
What is that?
It's a play. Traditionally, the Bloods will say blood love all the time. It's a play on that. They stand for slime love all the time.
Now, also looking at.
Okay.
ESPN on his arm.
Okay, so now we're going to go to the crosses because they're far more interesting. We all know the state is shitty and state presentation's awful. Okay. Oh, look, it's Lil Wayne. Let's see.
Today, do you know if the beef between YSL and YFN is still continuing?
It is.
How could it be continual? They locked up half of YFN and locked up half of YSL. And my understanding is the crime rate in Atlanta has gone down since they were locked up. So I'm not really sure how this beef is continuing. I think that was kind of stupid. Hi, Goddess. Okay, here we go.
Good afternoon, Investigator Viverito.
Good afternoon, Mr. Weinstein.
How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good. As you know, I represent Mr. Kendrick.
Yes, I do.
All right. Let me ask you a few questions. Excuse me.
Yeah, Red Bunny. I was just thinking about how that the photoing of their tattoos is very like it feels like a violation. And I wouldn't like it. But I'm going to try to stay out of jail.
I do.
Permission to publish? In Exhibit DK16, who do you see?
Dwayne Carter.
And Dwayne Carter's also known as Lil Wayne, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In the image that is on the right side of the two photographs,
Yes.
you see his arm there, correct?
I do.
Do you see ESPN on his arm?
I do.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you maintain that the ESPN, or do you know what the ESPN on his arm stands for?
On him, since he's not a member of YSL, I couldn't tell you what that stands for.
But he is not a member of YSL, correct?
Correct.
And yet he has ESPN on his arm.
Correct. Like, I could have a star. Bloods could have a star. Different tattoos mean different things to different people.
So the ESPN on his arm could mean ESPN, the sports network, correct?
as not being a member of YSL, yes.
So if you're a member of YSL,
Okay, hold on. First of all, I hate how she like qualifies her answers. She's so annoying. It is really annoying, and I guarantee you the jury is annoyed by it. But also, there is this there is a movie with Adam Sandler where he named one of his kids' names, the daughter's name is Espen, ESPN. I can't remember which movie it is. I think it's the one with Drew Barrymore, not 50 First Dates, but the second one they did like 20 years later. And I think Blended or something. Anyhow, one of his children's name in the show is Espen. So maybe these guys like that movie a lot, right? Like,
and you have ESPN on your arm, are you saying the only thing it could possibly mean is your interpretation of ESPN?
That's what I've seen it mean thus far with members of YSL.
And that's the only thing you believe it could mean?
As far as members of YSL, yes.
So the fact that my client was a football star at Grady. Okay. Do you know if my client played football at Grady?
I do now.
Do you know if my client got a scholarship to University of Georgia as a football player?
oh,
I'm asking if she knows it.
Sustained. You can ask if she knows whether it's true or not.
Do you know if my client got a scholarship to the University
I've
of
heard
Georgia?
that.
You've heard that. Okay. And so would you find it surprising that someone that got a football scholarship to the University of Georgia might like ESPN, the network?
I mean, they could like it, but I don't know if I'm sure he likes other TV channels also that aren't tattooed on him.
So
this bitch. My question is, does she think like the jury is like, oh yeah, she's so wise, this is not annoying as fuck? If you answer questions that way, like that is annoying to me. Like if I am on the jury, I am irritated by her.
if it's tattooed on you, it must mean ESPN, that you're a member of YSL. You just said that Dwayne Carter
Exactly.
has ESPN on his arm, but he's not a member of YSL.
Sustained.
You just said that ESPN on Lil Wayne is not a YSL insignia, correct?
Correct. Like I could say, you can see a college sorority girl with a star tattoo on her, right? And then you can see, go down to the prison and see members of blood gangs with 5-point stars tattooed on them. It's going to have, we look at everything on an individual basis. So I can't make that determination when it comes.
Okay. She just alluded to the idea that the only way you could have like a channel's name on you is if you have other channels. So not just ESPN, but also maybe TNT or Nickelodeon or something, which is crazy and stupid, right? And then Weinstein obviously pointing out other people have ESPN on their body, like that's a thing. And she's trying to backtrack, well, other people have 5-star, but the context that she sounds like shit to me. And I do think she's a bitch. And if she wants to get into my DMs, I welcome her there. The thing is I carry my weapon everywhere I go. It's my sharp tongue. Do you understand? Try me, bitch. She literally is a bitch. You don't go work for the government and then make shit up against people and not be a bitch.
Comes to YSL members, when you see ESPN associated with a YSL member, I have not seen it mean of anything other than every slime plaintiff.
And you said you could see a sorority girl with a star on her, correct?
Correct.
And you could see a University of Georgia football player with ESPN on their arm too, correct?
Correct, but they're both not members of a blood gang or YSL.
Okay. Mr. Kokomo, can I get
You're right, AM. She
May I
does.
approach again,
Her
Your Honor?
credibility wears away. You're right, AM. That's a very good. It's diminished with each answer, and especially with the smart ass. It's not a good look. What is a good look though is Jack's suit. I just love that bow tie. It looks great. Yeah, she does act like Quinn. And she's like, I don't work for EPD. The homicide detective did that. It's like, oh, so that's not my job is your testimony? Nobody likes that. Hey, you know who won this trial? You know who really won this trial? Mr. Kokomo.
Can I stop for a second? Is I can show my face on camera?
No, we're not going to.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
We've already
Okay,
seen
yes,
your face,
absolutely.
you stupid bitch.
I'm not going to publish this video, but I'd like to
We've already seen your face, and it ain't cute.
use EK15 into evidence.
It's admitted.
Okay, now I'm going to show you a still from the video.
Sure.
Okay, do you recognize that?
I do.
And do you recognize the individual in that?
That is me. I do.
Okay. I am going to introduce EK15A. 15A, it's a still from the video, and it's been redacted to remove the image of investigator Viverito.
Thank you. That's
Okay.
noted.
Would you please publish DK15A? Okay. Who is in this still image from DK?
Oh my god, this fucking bitch. I'm sorry, I can't. I'm demonetized, so I'll say whatever the fuck I want now, right? You know, like, fuck these people. Okay. This hoe makes a whole comment about how that's an expensive watch. Now, one thing I don't know is what an expensive watch is. I bought myself like a Movado for Mother's Day, and I was like, yes, I have an expensive watch. It cost $490. So they start talking about this blah, blah, blah brand. I never even heard of it. I'm like, what? But she says in this video, that is an expensive watch. And look, here is a picture of her holding that expensive watch, which is fucking missing.
15.
That is me.
Okay. Do you recall when this was taken?
That was on March 9th of 2020. I'm sorry, May 9th of 2022
And where was it taken?
at 355 Allison Drive, Northeast Atlanta, Georgia 30342.
And whose home was that at the time?
The home of Jeffrey Williams.
And where in the home are you?
Should be the master bedroom closet leading to the bathroom.
And in the video that you watched, which I'm not publishing, again, because it has your image on it.
Correct.
What are you doing at that point in the video?
We're inventorying the jewelry and items that are in the home.
Okay. And is this image that is taken, that's part of your inventorying procedure in the home, is that correct?
It's a documentation procedure, yes.
Okay. And do you recognize what you're holding in your hand in this still image?
I do.
And what are you holding in your hand?
A watch of some sort.
Okay. Do you know if do you recognize that as a Richard Mille watch?
I guess, yes.
And that's a pink watch, correct?
It's pink and either pink and light pink or pink and white, yes.
It's a,
Okay, hold on. So Richard Mille is the watch. I gotta look this up. Where did these watches come from? Have y'all ever heard of these? Like, or is it Mill or Millie? Miele? What are they? I never even heard. I'm Googling on my phone. Ew. Their website's cool. It's really flashy. They made a McLaren watch. That's cool. My dude's name is Mac and my name's Lauren. I'm like, we're like McLaren, but McLaurin. Get it? I love that, McLaurin. Okay. 1.7 million and it was custom? That is a almost $2 million watch? Richard Mille. Is it really Richard Mille? Richard Mille. That's what I was thinking it was. Brownie, hi, good to see you. Okay. Tracy says, who she can't stand more, Velveeta or Gaither? Ooh, I don't know. I don't know. They both have so much attitude, but I feel like Gaither's attitude was more funny.
it's a pink band, correct?
Correct.
And it has a white ceramic, I'll call it the body of the watch.
White, yeah, I guess it's white if you say so, yes.
Okay. After you took this image and you did this inventorying process, where did the watch go after this?
If you watch the video in its entirety, we're inventorying everything in the closet. There's a bunch of small boxes everywhere. So if you watch the video in its entirety, you take it, and the watch is photographed like this.
See, I
box
hate
is closed.
if you watch the video in its entirety. Like, ugh, I do not like her, and I don't think this sits well with the jury.
It's taken and put up on the shelf in the upper left-hand corner, and the inventorying continues. And then jewelry starts getting packed up and getting ready for the evidence team to come and take it down to property.
Okay. Since November the 4th of this year, have you spoken to the state about this particular watch, the pink watch with the white band that I've been calling the Richard Mille or Richard Mille watch?
To the state, no, but I've seen the, like, Twitter coverage of it going missing or whatever you want to.
I would have immediately called for a mistrial right there. Excuse me, Your Honor, may I approach? May I approach?
Maybe.
Well, no, I mean, there's a camera.
See, he started. May we approach? Witnesses are not allowed to watch. Witnesses are not allowed to watch the proceedings. They're not allowed to look at the commentary. Witnesses are like the jury, except the difference is once a witness is done testifying, then they can go look at shit. This hoe knew she was about to testify and went and looked at shit. I do not understand why this was not called a mistrial. Paige had some explanation. We'll get into it, but That should have been mistrial in my mind.
Right in here. They know that it's being live streamed. You just are not supposed to be watching it.
Oh.
And you asked
Yeah,
them the evidence. So
you're not supposed to be watching it. You're a witness.
Well,
just keep moving.
I wasn't watching the trial, but my name.
Don't
and-
worry about it.
Okay.
Just keep moving.
Okay.
Unless you need to approach about something
no,
else.
that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. So, tell me, and I'd like to know about this. Tell me in the whatever coverage you saw, what
Here
did
we
you
go.
learn about this watch that came up in this trial?
Sustained. Well, yeah, sustained.
No,
Okay.
I want to know about it.
So, after this watch was inventoried and you left it for, I'm sorry, who did you say takes the watch after the inventory
Okay.
process?
So if you watch the video in its entirety,
Which I can't show here, but
right?
go ahead.
But if you watched it,
If you watched it in its entirety.
the watch gets boxed back up and placed up on the shelf, and it gets left there by the team as as an accident. It was left there. The home was then turned over to Mr. Williams Sr. and Mr. Garfield Lamond to take possession of the home.
And is it the normal process when you're taking jewelry from the home or high-value goods that you leave behind a $500,000 watch?
Yeah,
on
there
the
we
shelf?
go.
First, I don't know the value of it. Second of all,
First, I don't know the value. Secondly,
like I said, there were numerous jewelry boxes. It was, if you watch the video, everybody in there had on body cameras. I made sure I was on camera at all times. There's cameras throughout the home. So you would be able to see if one of us removed the watch, the box remained in the closet. And like I said, the home was turned over to Mr. Williams Sr. and Mr. Garfield Lamond, who were the two people on scene that took custody of the home for Mr. Williams.
Okay, can we go back to my question?
Sure.
Sure. Is it the normal procedure to leave high-valued items behind when you're doing a search and then a seizure pursuant to a warrant? It wasn't answered, Your Honor.
he just said, "Can I ask a question?" And she said, "Sure." I'm a little more like Schardt. Okay. If I have a Viverito on this, first of all, I'm not asking you if I can ask a question. I'm telling you I'm asking a question. This is my time in my courtroom, mother trucker. Okay. Secondly, every bit of sassiness I would have objected as non-responsive. I know this team is not using non-responsive as a way to not irritate the jury and Fuck you, bitch, I don't care. Objection, non-responsive. Your Honor, would you please ask this witness to answer the question I ask and not the question she wants me to ask? Schardt gets into it. I think Weinstein's play is that he's kind of like nicer, right? Like that's his personality, his persona in the courtroom, right? And I think Schardt's persona is a little sharper. And so maybe they're doing like the good cop, bad cop thing, you know, softening her up with Doug and then burning her down with Max. I don't know. But this is not my style. My style is, bitch, I'm in charge.
I don't know if there's necessarily a procedure on what you take or what you don't. Like I said, it got left behind. There were other things, like other items of evidence that I had asked to be taken, such as photographs and
She doesn't know the
that had
procedure.
relevance to this case that were
She does not know the procedure.
left
Cool.
behind by the evidence team. It was quite a big operation. There was a hostile crowd gathering at the bottom of the driveway, so we were trying to speed it up to get out of there.
So are you telling me that law enforcement has no procedure with what you do with high-value items that are subject to a seizure warrant?
It's asked and answered at this point.
Okay. So the watch you say was left behind. What else wasn't done according to your instructions at the home that day?
I believe there were two pieces of artwork that were, one was Mr. Williams in a general uniform with snakes on his arm, and then one was Mr. Williams as like the Jesus at the Last Supper with all the people around him that I thought were relevant that were not taken. And like I said, it started to get pretty hostile out there, so we were trying to speed things up.
You said that there were many people with body cams in the
Correct.
home at the time. How many people, approximately, at the time of this raid of the home, let's call it that, were wearing body cams?
Almost everybody.
And did these body cams capture Mr. Kendrick within the home?
I believe they caught Mr. Kendrick running from the home.
That's not the question I asked.
They caught him outside of the home. I don't know how to better come into
Well,
the
it's
question.
either a yes, no.
No.
Is there body cam image of Mr. Kendrick within Mr. Williams' home?
The body camera image I saw was him running from the home.
Is there body cam image of
No.
Mr.
Answer
Williams
yes or no, and then you can explain.
in the home?
I haven't reviewed it, all of the entry team's body camera, but no.
Did you see Mr. Kendrick in Mr. Williams' home?
On that, by the time I arrived at the location, the entry was already made.
Did
So I did
you?
not, no.
You did not? Okay. Did you? There were approximately a half a dozen firearms found within the home, correct?
Correct.
Have you seen any images of Mr. Kendrick possessing any of those firearms?
I have not.
Have you seen any images of Mr. Kendrick near those firearms?
I have not.
There were drugs found in the home, correct?
Correct.
Have you seen Did you see Mr. Kendrick with any of those drugs?
No.
Did you see Mr. Kendrick anywhere near any of those drugs?
No.
As far as you know, was Mr. Kendrick in actual possession of any of those drugs?
No, I wasn't there when they made entry.
Have you spoken to anyone? No, let me take that back. Did you speak to Mr. Kendrick at all at that time?
I did not.
Okay. As far as you know, did Mr. Kendrick have any of those drugs? As far as you know.
As far as I know, no.
And as far as you know, did he have any of those guns?
I just know he was in the home where they were located at some point that day.
Okay. Let's talk about the mob ties video for just a moment.
Yes.
So in that video, at the very end, right, we have Mr. Kendrick saying, excuse my language, saying, knock it off your big homie bitch, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I'm going to go right back to what he was saying, but before I do that, who said, hold on, someone said, oh, that Doug could have treated her like a hostile witness. So the idea of a hostile witness is really only for direct examination. It is believed that all witnesses on cross are hostile. So the reason you ask for a witness to be declared hostile is when you're on direct and you're asking open-end questions and they're not answering them. So then you get to cross them and say, you did this, didn't you? You did that, didn't you? And so there would be no need for Doug to call her a hostile witness. She's already considered hostile under the law.
Do you recall how many times that line was stated prior to Mr. Kendrick uttering that line at the very end?
Multiple.
And it was stated by 24 Heavy, Ricky Hill, correct?
Correct.
And I believe he states it 3 times, right?
Correct.
So Mr. Kendrick is just repeating a line that someone else has written or someone else has said. He's repeating that at the end, correct?
I'm not sure who the writing credits go to, but he did say it at the end.
He's not freestyling it in that it's never been heard before in the song, correct?
Well, it wasn't part of the song. At that point, the song had ended, and he yelled it.
But it had been said 3 times before in the song, right?
Right.
So you're aware there's post-editing that lines can be put into music after the song is recorded, correct?
Right, but the context of how he was saying, the way he said it wasn't going along with the song.
Ooh, this is interesting. Tell me about that.
It was after the song happened.
I love Doug. Oh, this is interesting. Tell me about that. I just love it.
Concluded. And he kind of yelled it out with Miss Raven, and I forgot who else was with him.
How do you determine that the song has concluded?
The video, the way it's portrayed in the video. I didn't edit the way that's portrayed in the video has ended, and he utters it at the end after the song is concluded.
So what training have you had in music to know, when a song is ended in a particular video, when there's an utterance after a song is ended?
Are you asking how I know when a song ends?
Yeah, how do you know this in this video? Like, you've had training and expertise that tells you when a particular rap song ends and then something is just blurted out afterwards?
There you
I
go.
listen to the song independent of the video, and that's not on the track.
But it's in the video, correct?
Right, but when the song concludes, it's not part of the track.
Okay, Alda, to your point, if the defense was putting on their own witnesses, which they are not, and their witness was not answering their questions, then yes, they could ask that that witness be declared hostile. But where we saw that actually happen was when Miss Love, the idiot, was asking anyone questions because they couldn't fucking understand a thing she said because she circled around. So Miss Love often got witnesses treated as hostile because they were hostile because she's stupid.
Can we put up, which one of y'all are throwing up exhibits? Can you put up 512 VV? Mr. Atkinger, thank you so much. A few minutes for this to get pulled up, okay? We'll come back to it, I promise. When you're in Mr. Williams, did you call it the jewelry closet?
No, it was a closet where there was a jewelry and other things, money, other things were stored.
Okay. When you're in that closet, do you recall in that video that you mentioned how valuable that watch is when you pull it up?
I don't believe so.
I can play that for you so you can hear that.
You can, yeah, if you'd like to.
Bitch, do not tell me what the fuck I can do in a fucking courtroom if you're not the fucking judge. He's a licensed attorney. This man is a patent attorney. That means he's a bigger attorney than I am. Don't you fucking take your stupid detective government working ass and tell me what I can do. No.
Be careful.
Are we playing the video or just the audio?
I just want to do the audio, so I'm going to make sure we can get that done.
Well, that'll not pose a problem.
I want to make sure we can technically do that without having an issue.
If that's an easier...
Kokomo, the real winner.
All the cars, minus Mustang, it's saying either thug or gun, name it.
I'm not sure that's what there's a lot of it out there.
We'll just play it for you so you can see that. I just don't want to risk your image being shown.
I appreciate you, Ms. Weinstein.
Why? We all know what she looks like. She's an idiot.
You don't hear it in there?
I don't make that remark, no.
Okay.
I didn't hear it. Hold on.
You don't hear it in there?
I don't make that remark, no.
Okay.
I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it, guys. Did you hear it?
I made it, like you said, I made it about the first watch. That made it to
Made it about the first watch,
Yeah.
which was also a Richard Mille watch. Or Mill. I don't know how to pronounce it. So you did make it about the first Richard Mille, just not the
That is
second
in
Richard Mille.
evidence.
Okay. But they're both Richard Mille watches, correct?
I mean, there were several much more expensive pieces of jewelry that were there also. And this is not my first case with a lot of expensive jewelry.
See, this commentary, this is not my first case with a lot of expensive jewelry. Like, nobody asked.
Well, VV, for just a moment. What's happening to Ricky and Boys in the Hood? It's running like Ricky has become a meme.
He's getting gunned down in a drive-by shooting.
And what's he doing when he's getting gunned down?
Running.
And he's running down an alley, correct?
Yes.
And he's running at a pretty good clip away from the vehicle that is shooting him with the shotgun, correct?
Correct.
Okay. He's not standing on the sidewalk, right?
I didn't insinuate that.
Hey, guys, isn't that a shirt that says slime in blue? I thought slime was associated with red and green. Huh.
Sorry?
I didn't insinuate that.
No, I didn't say you did. I'm just
Okay,
asking
yeah,
you a
no.
question.
He's running.
Okay. And he's...
Red Bunny said she looks like she ate the walk. She ate all the food in the fridge and had the watch for dessert. I'm dead.
He's running away from, directly away from the shotgun that's coming out of a car to shoot him, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
After the killing of Donovan Thomas.
Yes, this picture was more self-importance to me to show the alliance between the Crips and YSL.
Oh, that's right. That's a hybrid gang, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I
And
love
a
that.
hybrid gang is kind of like a nose of wax, right? It's something that you can twist and pull so that any type of characteristics that you find can meet the definition of a gang, right?
Love
That's
it.
not true.
It isn't true. Why wouldn't that be
Really?
true?
For example, this hybrid gang with Mr. Arnold, this came about when Mr. Keith Troop died, and Mr. Williams gave a eulogy at Mr. Keith Troop's funeral. And if you listen to Mr. Kitchens, he tells the story about how Mr. Williams was put in charge to take care of Mr. Kitchens and guide him, and he's the one that kind of took them under their wing, and it was okay. And Mr. Williams was the first one to cross color lines when it came to gangs here in Georgia, and they were first uneasy with that, but Keith Troop explained to them, no, it's okay, this is something we do now. So that's an example, and the Department of Justice.
No, it isn't. Gangs do not cross color lines. The 12th Street Crips will fight the 14th Street Crips. Okay, so I don't know why you think that the 12th and 14th Street Crips who are in this Crips, they're both Crips. They're fighting each other. You think they're gonna like be friends with the Cleveland Avenue Bloods? Like, it doesn't even make sense. It is the stupidest theory I've ever heard.
This defines hybrid gangs as a gang member's participation in multiple gangs, vague rules and code of conduct, gangs or different gangs collaborating together to commit crimes. And there's several other definitions, but it's not just something I made up. The Department of Justice defines it.
No, I know. And what I'm trying to understand from you is I've seen multiple gang experts come in here and talk about definitions of gangs and definitions of hybrid gangs. And it just appears that if a group of individuals don't fit your definition of a gang, that they automatically get classified as a hybrid gang.
Boom.
I'm asking a question about hybrid gang.
Yeah, I'm asking.
Can you
Is that
explain
the case?
what a hybrid gang is?
Yes, I gave you part of it. It's traditionally a neighborhood gang or local gang that tries to take on the identifiers of a traditional gang. Like I'm from New York. The gangs in New York are much more structured. The gangs in LA, Chicago are much more structured. I apologize. The gangs are much more structured here in Georgia. You'll see there are neighborhood cliques that will adopt the identifiers, like YSL, for example, adopted the identifiers of sex, money, murder. They were sex, money, murder based in the beginning, but then Mr. Williams decided to do his own spin on it. Like I said, when he was very close.
How can she say that? How can she say Mr. Williams decided to do his own thing? That is objectionable. This woman, ugh.
To Keith Drew, when he was deceased.
Look at Schardt's foot shake. I know we're listening. This is at 1.75, but look at his foot.
He kind of, or prior to that, like I said, if you watch, there's history about it where Mr. Kitchens talks
He's just ready to get up.
about he was sent to go help out Mr. Williams at one point, and at first he was uneasy, like, oh, do we do this? And he said,
Slow down also.
Yeah,
It's
just-
sustained,
yeah.
take your sake.
and that's
I'm trying to understand, without giving examples, if you can define hybrid gang.
it is a neighborhood gang that takes on pieces of traditional gangs. And like I said, you'll have individuals from different gangs working together. You'll have the mixed use of identifiers, like we've seen through the presentation of evidence here. Like here, this snake and the blue heart for the Crips. Vague rules and code of conduct. Sex, money, murder, bloods have a rank structure. I don't know a rank structure within YSL. So they take pieces of what they like and they put their own spin on it, but are still backed by a traditional gang.
So
Okay, so in my experience as a human being, if y'all recall, I turned 43 in September, right? In my experience as a human being, when you ask someone to describe something and they have to use paragraphs and paragraphs of language, then what they're describing isn't real. I don't know if you ever noticed this, but when people lie, they use a lot of words, okay? I'm not saying Viverito is lying necessarily about this definition of hybrid gang. What I'm saying is hybrid gang is a lie. And the way we know it's a lie is because she just took 850,000 words to describe it and still didn't describe it. Idiot.
traditional gang would have a hierarchy, correct?
Correct.
But you, according to I believe the testimony we've heard, YSL as a gang doesn't have a hierarchy.
They don't have Goodfellas, for example. They have.
I'm asking. Let's go back to my question.
Right.
YSL.
Right.
Well, the answer wasn't responsive to my question.
Go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. YSL does not have a hierarchy as a traditional gang does, correct?
They don't have a set of leadership like roles, no.
Okay, so in that sense, they wouldn't fit into the definition of a traditional gang.
Mm-hmm.
But they're still welcomed by members of the Sex, Money, Murder Bloods.
So
Can you just answer my question?
that's not what I asked.
Yes.
Okay. So my question was, they don't fit into the definition of a traditional gang.
Correct.
So instead, they get slotted over to this catch-all category of hybrid gang, correct?
I wouldn't call it a catch-all, no.
Okay.
There it is.
I don't have any further questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Weinstein.
Very impactful. Very good. Weinstein is.
Let me just ask y'all a scheduling issue.
Plans and pins, I'm glad you're here. Okay, y'all. Schardt's Cross is fire. One thing, okay, this case, I've been watching it since it started. I've been, like, last November, I was live streaming it, doing Christmas cards for my business. I'm doing Christmas cards again now, right? Like, it's been a whole year. And a year ago, Schardt was good. There's no doubt. He's always been a good lawyer. No doubt in my mind. But now he is great. We have watched him over the last year develop into like a level of greatness, right? Like he was good. Now he's great. And it has been my pleasure, really, to be able to watch him grow as a lawyer and to see his crosses get better and more poignant and more strategic. I'm very, very proud of Schardt. Yes, Stealing Adams would have ruined Burrito, and we call her Burrito because she's a fat ass, and it rhymes with burrito. There is no doubt that Steele or Adams would have torn her apart, but I think Schardt did marvelously. So what I want to do is just play that, okay? I know, K-Way, like a year ago, Max, he was good, but there were times where he like wavered a little maybe, and then I don't know, man, like something happened. I don't know if it was him being there when Steele was going to go to jail for his client, or if it's just been like the whole just a year of just hard work. But he has become great. He went from good to great. And I've got to be honest, any of these lawyers in this courtroom, I would hire. Any of the defense attorneys, I would hire, okay? Yeah, Tall Glass, he has blossomed. He has blossomed. So I'm going to go off the screen. We're going to full screen Schardt. I'm still here. I'm still alive. Oh, Brownie had Glanville left. So Schardt was, oh, yes, that's exactly what it was. Once Schardt got out from under Glanville, who clearly hated him, right? Glanville clearly hated Schardt. Once Schardt got out from under Glanville, he was really able to shine. I shine, you shine, we shine. All right, so yeah, Alda, I know that Steele and Schardt are like really close friends. So definitely Schardt has benefited from that friendship and Steele's mentorship. All right, this is so good that I don't want to be in the screen and I don't want to stop it, but I probably will. But I'm just going to put the screen on. I'll be here in the background. I'll stop it when I get excited. I'll try not to. But it's so fucking good.
Let me just start off with something that you said on direct. When did you start working on this case with the DA's office?
I'm trying to think. I got to probably fall of 21, maybe.
Fall of 2021. And in fall of 2021, when you started working with this case with the DA's office, you were in the section or in the working group with under 88 Love, correct?
No.
Okay, who were you under?
Kara Conberry was the deputy district attorney at that time.
Okay. All right, and with the DA's office, eventually, you're not with the DA's office now?
Correct.
Okay, but with the DA's office, you worked on this case, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and you worked under Kara Convery. Who else did you work under?
Well, she wasn't on the case, but for the case, I worked under Don Geary.
Don Geary, okay. All right. Now, in your testimony over the last few days, you've spoken about the work that you did on this case with the district attorney's office.
Correct.
And you've given us your opinions about certain things that you learned through your work at the district attorney's office, correct?
Some. I don't know. I don't think I've given many opinions.
Okay. As part of your work with the district attorney's office, you reviewed surveillance videos.
Correct.
Okay. You drafted affidavits for search warrants.
Correct.
You collected evidence from Jeffrey Williams' house.
Correct.
You collected social media posts.
Correct.
From various people.
Correct.
You reviewed Mr. Stillwell's phones.
Correct.
You've reviewed music, in this case, by various artists.
Correct.
Okay. In fact, today, I guess you reviewed a video to make a determination of what type of gun is in a picture, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All those things that you did, and there were other things that you did with the DA's office, correct?
Correct.
All right. And you testified that you were asked by Ms. Hilton, how did you notate your work on this case? And then you said that you talked about your search warrant affidavits, that you make them thorough.
Correct.
Okay, but search warrant affidavits aren't memorandums, are they?
No.
Okay, they're not police reports, are they?
No.
Okay. In your explanation, you don't have reports written for the work that you did in this case as a district attorney, with the district attorney's office, do you?
I have, I think, one or two that were witness memorandums, but other than that, no.
Reports about when you were collecting social media posts?
No.
Got any reports on that?
No.
Okay, about whose addresses you were looking at and whose you weren't? Do you have any reports on that?
What do you mean by addresses?
Instagram addresses, or Instagram, which people that you were following on Instagram, which people you were looking at their Instagram, what dates you were looking at their Instagram. Do you have reports about that?
No, but they were compiled, and each date that they were looked at were noted on the photo.
Okay, so we're just supposed to look at the stuff that you compile and bring to court, and that's good enough to let us fill in all the work that you did. Just take your word for it?
It's cross, I'm going to permit it.
I mean, I'm here to explain it.
Okay, well, that's fine, but,
Right.
you know, what if we want reports? Do you have reports?
I said, now I work at a different facility. When I worked at the GBI, we had a reporting system. The DA's office doesn't have that. So I would, in my affidavits, make them as lengthy. When you see an affidavit of mine, it's pretty lengthy for a reason.
Okay, well, I didn't ask about your search warrant affidavits. I'm asking about reports and memorandums right now. Okay, and you seem to be saying, well, there was no record-keeping software with the district attorney's office that you could memorialize the work you did.
Correct.
Okay, they don't have a typewriter, they don't have computers, they don't have Microsoft Word, they don't have a pad of paper, they don't have pens, they don't have pencils. Is that what you're saying?
They do.
Okay. But you just didn't write any reports about any of this work that you've been testifying over the last 3 days that you did.
I don't really know anybody that would write a report. saying on this date I screenshotted this picture. On this date I screenshotted this picture. That's not really a report. That's not an event I would write a report for.
Well, what if I want to know exactly what Instagram addresses, what individuals that you looked at on Instagram, and which ones you didn't, which ones you checked out what they were posting, and which ones you didn't? How would I know if you don't write a report?
Well, if I looked at them, the name would be on the post, and if I didn't, there wouldn't be a picture.
Okay, so again, we're just going with what you say happened years later based on the evidence that you bring into court.
I compiled my findings into a folder and provided it as part of the case file.
Okay. And you didn't write any reports about the work that you were doing in real time, did you?
There's a report for Waters Road, and the rest of the investigation, like the investigation into the stabbing of Mr. Bennett, can be found in pretty lengthy affidavits.
So you wrote a report for Waters Road?
I did.
Were you at the DA's office at that time?
I wrote it on a piece of paper. It was a Word document.
So you were able to make a Word document about that work, just not the other work that you did, like when you were reviewing my client's phone, like when you were collecting things off of social media, like when you were reviewing surveillance videos. You couldn't write reports for those matters.
Today,
Sorry, I told you I wouldn't interrupt, but one thing Schardt is not going to do is drop it with those reports. He ain't going to drop it with those reports. And he just so eloquently, oh, so you can write reports here, here, and here, but not on his, oh, good God, it's so beautiful. Brings a tear to my eye.
The report management system, I wouldn't write a report for screenshotting social media or reviewing a phone. I traditionally put together a PowerPoint or visual presentation for trial.
Okay, I didn't ask what you traditionally do. I asked what you did and did.
But that's what I would do. That's what I did back at the DA's office, is what I'm telling you. I would do that today with a report management system, as I did with that one. Those things are not responding to Waters Road. I wanted to make sure it's better suited to put it in an affidavit because it's memorialized in the clerk's office. Systems can get hacked, hard drives can get lost, things can get deleted, files can get lost. So I prefer to anything that's noteworthy, make sure it's memorialized somewhere.
Things can get lost. That's your explanation. You can't lose something if you don't make it, can you?
Which is why anything regarding my investigation is probably in an affidavit that I've wrote hundreds of pages.
Probably in an affidavit?
If you would give me a case that you're specifically referring to, I can give you an example.
In your
Red Bunny found all the reports. All of the reports, they were written. Burrito ate them.
I would like you to show me an affidavit for a search warrant where you list all the Instagram addresses and people that you checked out in March 2022 when you were pulling their posts.
That was
everyone that you searched.
That was served to you in a discovery folder.
Okay. I have the posts.
Correct. So that's all of them.
All right. I'm not asking for the posts. I'm asking for a list of the people that you searched for.
If you look in the folder, you will see the list of people I searched for.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Mr. Stillwell, you have known him since 2012, is that correct?
Approximately, yes.
He was about 17 at the time?
If that's what the math dictates, then yes.
Okay. You know him to be from the Thomasville area of Atlanta, correct?
When I would encounter him, he would not be. He would be more in the Mechanicsville area.
Okay, fair enough. You know him, and you know personal information about him, correct?
Such as?
You know that he was raised by his grandmother, Betty Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, and you know Betty Jackson is the mother of his biological father.
Correct.
That's where the Jackson comes from.
Correct.
And the Stillwell comes from his mother.
Correct.
And you know that his mother has never been a part of his life.
Correct.
You know that she was a very bad drug addict.
Objection or relevance, Your Honor?
It's going to explain communications on the phone.
All right, overruled.
And you know that she's now deceased.
I know that she's deceased. I don't know the circumstances.
Okay, you know that and Betty Jackson raised Mr. Stillwell, and you've met Betty Jackson before?
I have.
Okay. And you identified her voice on the jail phones.
Yes.
And also in your review of his phone, the extraction of his phone.
Yes.
You saw her number under the name Boss Lady.
Correct.
Okay. You know Mr. Jackson has a 9th grade education, correct?
I do not know that.
Okay. Do you know him to be a high school graduate?
I don't know that.
Okay. As far as his occupation, as far as you've known him, you know, let's be real for a second. You've reviewed his phones.
Correct.
Okay. You saw mentions of drugs, weed, pills in his phones.
For sale, yes.
Okay, for sale, right. Okay. There was indications in his phone that in 2022 he was selling drugs.
Correct.
Okay. And also in his phone, you saw substantial evidence of his aspirations to become a musician, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You've seen social media posts with him and Wooney Lee at the studio.
Yes.
You've seen social media posts where he hashtags his upcoming projects.
Yes.
You've seen, you saw on YouTube that short video Slap Talk, correct?
That was on his Instagram profile, yes.
Okay. Did you note at the time that you captured that Instagram post with the song how many views it had?
I did not.
Would you dispute that it was 17,000?
I don't know, so I have no way to.
All right. And you also observed in his phone his communications with other individuals that were rapping, correct?
I mean,
You saw communications with Mooney Lee.
with Mooney Lee, yes.
Okay. And you saw different references and conversations about renting studio time
Correct.
in his phone. Even, we're talking about in March 2022. On March 8th, for instance, there was a discussion about him going to the studio.
Sure.
March 9th, going into the 10th, discussion with Mooney Lee about going to the studio. The Yo is what they call it, correct?
Correct.
Evening of March 10th, discussion of going to the studio run by Mook Toven.
Correct.
And you know Mook Toven to be someone who runs a studio, correct?
Producer of some sort, yes.
And you saw the evidence of, you see file transfers on those dates from Mook Toven and other people transferring audio files.
Correct.
Okay. And that's consistent with someone making music in the studio and then their work being transferred to them at the end of the night by the studio engineer.
Sure, yes.
Evening of March 11th, discussions with Mooney Lee about going to the studio.
Yes.
March 12th, booking a session at the studio.
Yes.
The evening of March 14th, your investigation, and I know that, and we're going to talk about 10 o'clock and Windsor Street, but later on in the evening, talking about midnight, your investigation was revealed that Mr. Still was in the studio.
Yes.
In fact, when people were looking for him, he informed his grandmother that he was in the studio.
I don't know if I remember that, but I know he did after the murder of Schmeldring. They were at the studio, yes.
Okay. So, and you've observed some of Shannon's music.
I have.
You've observed a lot of music in your profession.
I have.
You observe a lot of music, let's just
I
put it that way. You're familiar with drill music, correct?
Yes.
All right. Drill music is something that extends beyond Atlanta.
It does.
It's worldwide, correct?
I know throughout the U.S. I'm not too familiar with it internationally, but yes.
Okay. Common themes of drill music, brutality and violence.
Correct.
Is that fair to say?
Correct.
Okay. Who's the baddest? Who's the toughest? Who's the most powerful?
Correct.
A lot of bragging.
Correct.
Okay. Claims about women, about who gets the most women. Is that a recurring theme?
Yes.
Bragging about the guns people own and carry.
Yes.
Okay. Bragging about how much money people have.
Yes.
Bragging about homicides, whether it's true or not.
Some.
Okay. It's a type of music, and whether you like it or not, and I'm not suggesting you like it, and I'm not suggesting I like it, but it glorifies violence.
I don't know if I would use the term glorifies because there are a number of drill rappers that have been charged with homicide.
Okay.
Or engaged in violent acts. So I don't know if it glorify. There's two sides. It can glorify it and it can also tell the story. So there's two different sides to it.
Okay, so one side, you know people that are in drill music that have been charged with crimes.
What I'm saying is music of that you're describing often feeds into violence.
Okay, and you don't like that, do you?
I don't like anybody getting hurt.
Okay, and that's fine.
Yeah.
You feel it feeds into violence, okay? And what I'm asking though is when you said it glorifies, you said I know some people who are in drill music that have been charged with crimes.
Correct.
Okay, and you also know a lot of drill music where people claim they did this and claim they did that.
Correct.
And it's not always factual.
No, but being a drill artist doesn't negate the fact that you engage in violence.
Okay, you may.
It could go either way, but being a drill artist doesn't negate that fact.
That's fine. Yeah. Common terms in drill music, ops.
Correct.
Stands for opposition.
Correct.
And that is a recurring theme that you almost hear in every song. Isn't that fair to say?
In every song and almost every investigation that I work, yes.
Okay. And if we, and we're not going to do it, but if we Google and get on YouTube and type in rap ops, we'll see dozens of songs with ops in the title.
Correct.
Including by well-known artists.
Correct.
All right. Glizzies. Glizzy is a term that comes up a lot in drill music, correct?
Correct.
So, gun?
Yes, but I don't know if I've heard that used that much by these folks that we investigated with this.
I'm
yeah,
talking about...
it does. Guns do come up, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's in one of Shannon's songs.
Okay.
Lizard Walk.
Okay.
Okay. And that's another term that comes up a lot in drill music.
Glizzy, blick, fi, whatever you want to call it.
Red light is another one that comes up a lot in drill music, correct? Red lights?
I don't hear that as often, no.
Okay. You ever hear the song Red Light by Future?
No.
You heard the lyrics? Yeah, and this shit real out here running through the red light, looking through your rear view and might just sneak up on the car and try to spray you. You hear that? Heard that lyric?
No, but Mr. Wilburn would have engaged in a homicide at a red light. I probably would have looked into it.
Okay. I didn't ask anything about a homicide or Mr. Wilburn.
Her smart ass.
Heard the lyric.
See how he said that? I didn't ask about homicide. I asked if you heard the lyric.
Yes, I would.
Okay,
It's something I would look at.
Okay.
That's it, bitch. Then shut up.
Chalk. Chalk you out. Chalk them up. Slime and chalk.
Slime and chalk I'm familiar with, yes.
All right. Those are things that you would hear in drill music, correct?
Slime and chalk, I've heard. The others, I don't know if I've heard.
All right. We heard 5 songs by Mr. Stillwell. Okay.
Yes.
And they were, let's see, Slap Talk.
Oh my god, almost all of them were terrible. The one that I kind of liked was the BS one, and the rest were ugh.
Ran This Money, Bullshit, Lizard Walk, and Red Light.
Yes.
And all those songs, you have identified Mr. Stillwell, and they were in Mr. Stillwell's phone.
Correct.
Okay, and just to be clear, there were other songs in Mr. Stillwell's phone as well.
Correct.
Okay, so we heard 5 of all the songs that Mr. Stillwell had in his phone.
Correct.
And do you know, outside of his phone, how many other songs Mr. Stillwell has made?
I know through the years I've seen him make a few, but I couldn't give you a number.
Okay. Now, with those songs, do you know when they were written?
No, and on direct, I said I can only see the date that they were added to the device.
Right, and you don't, and let's just be clear, the date that they were added to the device was 3/17. There was some sort of file transfer according to the report.
Correct.
On 3/17. You don't believe that on the morning of 3/17, he was in the studio making all those songs?
Not to say that 1 or 2 of them couldn't have been made in the days prior, but I can't give you exact dates on them.
Okay. So we don't know when they were when they were made. Do we know when they were written?
No.
Do we know who wrote the lyrics?
We don't.
Okay, and in fact, on one of the songs, Red Light, it says featuring Vito, correct?
Correct.
Veedo.
Correct.
You know Vito to be a songwriter, not an artist, a songwriter for 300 Entertainment, correct?
He could be, yes.
Okay.
Could be.
Um,
Why not just say yes? Why didn't she just say yes?
have the typical ops, Red Light, Glizzy, Homicide, typical things that are hallmarks of drill music, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, also, in one of the songs, Mr. Stillwell makes reference to his bankroll, right?
Correct.
Okay. Bankroll is the amount of money you have.
Correct.
The wad cash.
Correct.
All right. And he's bragging about his bankroll.
Correct.
Okay. And that's what he's saying. That's what he's releasing to the public through this song.
Correct.
Mr. Stillwell, do you know him to own a car?
No.
Do you know him to own a house?
No.
Do you know him to be independently wealthy?
No.
I mean, sometimes, yes. He has a lot of money on him.
What?
Um,
How are you? Hold on. Every day I wake up and I think, gee, if only I were independently wealthy, I wouldn't have to go to work today. You don't be independently wealthy sometimes. Like, does this hoe even know? Does this fat bitch even know what independently wealthy means? That means you have enough money that you don't even have to fucking work. So, I'm sorry, but how are you sometimes independently wealthy? I swear to God, these people are so fucking stupid. Adela says that she read on X that Viverito had some work done, and that's why she doesn't want to be shown. Well, we know for a fact she had her tits done, because if you look at my thumbnail, you could see 2 big honkers, and we know those ain't real. Yeah, exactly, Alda. Having some money on you sometimes does not make you wealthy. Like, I'll give you a great example. Cadillac Law, my firm, we do property tax protests. Property tax protests, the value goes out on April 15th every year. April 15th, April 16th, every year, okay? Every year between April 16th and probably mid-June, July, I take a ton of property tax protest clients. Hundreds, okay? That period is my bread and butter. That period right there, every year, I do the best financially. So I tell people, if I have a yearly bill, like my website lady, okay, you pay her every yearly fee, she hosts, and then she'll edit stuff for me, okay? I tell her, send me the bill in May, because in May, I have a lot of money. So in May, I have a higher income than usual, right? That doesn't mean that I'm independently wealthy in the month of May. Like, that is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. I may have heard something stupider, but that's just up there. I mean, it's up there on like top 10 dumbest shit I've ever heard. sometimes he's independently wealthy. In order to be independently wealthy, you have to be wealthy, and to be wealthy, you're never poor. This is fucking idiots. I swear to God. Sorry, I promised I wouldn't interrupt. It's just that she's so stupid.
Is that something that artists often talk about, their bankroll and how big it is?
Sometimes, yes.
Is that always true, that the artists that are bragging about their bankroll is really as big as they're claiming it is in their songs?
That's an individual basis.
Could it be, you ever heard the term, like my son says it all the time, cap? Like, just made up. Cap.
His son does not say cap. His son is like 6, okay? My son says cap. My son is almost 20. This is now my favorite part. When we get into this, he says, okay, is that cap? And then this is about to get so good. I'm going to try to shut up.
It could be, but that's not necessarily the case with Mr. Stillwell Jackson.
I'm asking if you've ever heard.
Yes, I have.
Okay, and artists cap on songs all the time, don't they?
Some do, some don't.
And Mr. Stillwell, in his songs, was claiming that he had a bankroll.
And he did some. Yes, he did some.
Well, on the phone, you reviewed his songs.
Correct.
You saw him basically begging Miss Alexander to give him $1,500.
But if you listen to the March 16th wiretap call, he talks about all the money he had.
Okay.
And he didn't want to go to jail with all that money. So he had a lot of it fluctuates from day to day. So I don't know. Some days he has a bankroll, some days he has no roll. So.
Okay. Did he have a bankroll? Do you know if he had a bankroll the day he recorded that song?
Do not.
Okay. Could that have been cap?
Could have been. He could have been reminiscing about when he had his bankroll.
Okay.
I'm sorry. She's so stupid. He could have been reminiscing about when he had a bankroll. Oh, come on, lady.
In these songs, while we're talking about cap, let's see. Mr. Stillwell referred to himself as Big Slime.
Yes.
Okay. You ever hear anyone else refer to Mr. Stillwell as Big Slime?
I'm trying to think. He's been referred to as Big Slime and Life-Size Lizard.
Right. That's what he calls himself.
He's also referred to as that. I've heard him.
Okay. So he was claiming to be Big Slime in
Right.
the song that he wrote or performed. Okay. Then we got, let's see, Dolly White in one of the songs. Bullshit, right?
Dolly, yes.
She brags about making $201K in a day.
Okay.
Okay. Do you know? Is there any evidence that you have that on that day that Dolly White was claiming that she made $201K that day, that she actually made $201,000 that day?
A, I wouldn't know what day it is to be able to tell you. She could have been on Instagram or somewhere bragging about having 200K. So without knowing the day, I couldn't tell you.
Okay. Do you have any evidence that Dolly White, not talking about Jeffrey Williams, I'm talking about Dolly White, has ever made $201,000 in a day in her life?
I couldn't tell you what Miss Greer makes.
Could that have been cap?
It could, but also could not have been.
So,
I'm sorry. I promise I wouldn't talk. But it could, but it could not have been. No shit. You don't say. I swear to God. This woman. Surely the jury sees this too, right? Like the jury is with me on this. They're like wondering why she's so stupid, right? Like we're together on this mission, on this trip, I think.
we talked about the lyrics on Direct. In these songs, Mr. Stillwell never mentioned an infinity.
No.
Never mentioned Diamante Kendrick.
No.
Never mentioned Demise McMullen or Nard.
No.
Never mentioned Justin Cobb or Doo-Wop.
No.
He mentioned being arrested for a homicide and beating.
I don't know. I'm going to tread lightly on it. I don't know. Can I get some direction on
He said I beat
Okay, but I just want to
murder
make sure I'm approaching correctly. You know what
I'll ask a very targeted question.
Okay.
He mentioned on Slat Talk, I beat a murder rap.
Yes, he did.
Paid my lawyer $30 for that.
He did mention that.
Okay. He also mentioned beating a homicide on another song, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do you have, the fact is that Mr. Stillwell, he's on trial for that here today. At the time he wrote those lyrics, he had never beaten a homicide.
That's a real slippery slope to explain that. I don't want to say something.
Is it?
He had never been cleared or went to trial and was found not guilty of a homicide.
Yes.
They have to approach because she wants to lie. She wants to say, oh, no, well, he was charged with Donovan Thomas. But Schardt is asking if he was, like, did he ever?
Surprises everybody. So we need to get some clarity from you. Okay, so can you listen really carefully to what his question is and answer that question? And then if your answer is still the same, we need to ask some follow-up of you.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
In the songs that we reviewed, Mr. Stillwell claimed to have beat a homicide, correct? Or
Correct.
beat a murder rap, beat a homicide.
Correct.
Okay. Did he, in fact, beat a murder rap or beat a homicide, as he claimed?
I think he,
Go ahead and explain it now because the jury's not in here.
Yeah,
We're just
here.
trying to sort out what
I
it
think
is.
from my understanding of Mr. Stillwell back in that time, he was under the impression that the Donovan Thomas case had been, that they were going to beat it, like they were about to beat it or was beat or it wasn't going to be an issue. I didn't want to say that because I didn't
Well,
know.
that's good that you didn't
Yes.
say that, but that's not the question that he asked at
I'm
the
not asking
time.
what Mr. Stillwell thought. of
Okay,
this
yeah,
case.
then no.
And listen
Okay.
very carefully to what he actually, I mean, that's not what he asked a minute ago, but you don't have like knowledge that nobody else has that he was tried for some other
no, no,
murder and got a hung jury or an acquittal.
No,
right?
Your Honor. I just
Okay,
wanted to make sure.
so if Mr. Schardt asked you, has he ever beaten one, and by beaten, I mean, gotten an acquittal or however he phrases it, what would your answer be then?
No, I just didn't know the specific outcome of if it was.
Has he
dismissed
even
or
been tried for
No.
another murder?
She's
Okay,
still
I'm
on-
saying I don't know the specific
she's
outcome,
still
but
on-
he has never been tried for one other than the one he's on trial.
Look how irritated Paige is with this. She bugged the shit out of Paige. She really did.
For right now, okay?
Yeah,
You understand?
I just thought, I didn't know if he meant it was dropped. That was all, Your Honor.
That's not what was asked. I know that. I know that.
I think that's the clarity that needs to be had because at the time, Mr. Stillwell was
It wasn't very clear. No, it was a clear question.
That is not anywhere near what he asked. He asked, has he ever been tried for and acquitted of murder? Being given a bond before a trial ever occurs does not a yes answer for has he ever been tried and acquitted.
Right, but even the question you just asked right now was not that direct.
I know. That's because I know. But just now what he asked, we're just trying to figure out what it is she might mean.
Mm.
And are you then going to ask?
I'll ask about the bond next.
Okay. So if he asked about bond, then you can answer whatever you know about whether he was released on bond.
I try to be respectful of his rights, Your Honor. That's all.
Okay. Does anybody need any more clarity?
Says I beat a homicide.
Paige did not like Burrito. When Burrito was on direct, Paige had to tell her several times, answer the effing question, lady.
My first question. To your knowledge, in this case, I'm talking about Donovan Thomas.
Correct?
Had Mr. Stillwell ever been acquitted or the case been dismissed?
No.
Okay. The case was still open, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So he had not, in fact, beat a homicide.
Correct.
He had not, in fact, beat a murder rap.
Correct.
Yet he claimed that on his songs.
Correct.
Also, he claimed to pay his lawyer $30 for that. Do you know if he actually paid a lawyer anything?
I don't believe he's the one that paid the lawyer, but a lawyer was paid
Do you know a lawyer's been paid?
at some
What
point.
lawyer?
How do you know that?
Represented at some point.
Well, what lawyer?
I don't know which lawyer he was represented.
Well, you
at
just
some
said you know the lawyer's been paid, and now I'm asking
Yes.
you what lawyer?
So who?
point. A lawyer back then would have been paid for him. I don't know.
What's the lawyer's name? Since you had an opinion on it, that lawyer had been paid, what is that lawyer's name?
All I said was,
That's how this is where Max and I align in our personalities, okay? Because I'm going to be like, now since you have an opinion on it, exactly how he came at her, that's how I be coming at people, okay? Look at him ready to go. Ooh, I should screenshot it. He's ready. Ooh, that's a great action shot right there.
it was Mr. Schardt. If he had a lawyer, it would have had to have been paid somehow. I don't know how or who.
Okay, so you don't know how much anyone.
I did not work on the Donovan Thomas case at all.
You don't even know if he had a lawyer at all.
And so you don't know how much, who, or how much anyone had been paid.
I just said I don't know who his lawyer was or how much or how they were paid.
The reality is, Mr. Stillwell was released on bond.
Yes.
He didn't beat a murder rap. He had been released on bond.
Yes.
Okay, so claim I beat a murder rap. That was cap.
Mm.
If you want to call it cap. I was saying correct, but sure.
Claim that he paid a lawyer $30 for that. We don't know. We don't even know who the lawyer is.
Correct?
Okay. He also said in Lizard Walk, bond was $500,000 N-word. Remember that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know Mr. Stillwell's bond in the case that he paid for Donovan Thomas? Do you know it to have been $500,000?
Mm.
I believe it was almost, not $500,000, but it was
Of course,
a high amount.
I believe it's
Was it
almost.
$500,000?
I think if I remember correctly, it was $300,000.
Was it $500,000?
It was not.
Okay, so that was cap as well, correct?
I believe it was this. So was it $500,000? I believe it was this. So was it $500,000? I believe it was this. So was it $500,000? No.
Mr. Stillwell, since October 2015, has been charged with the Donovan Thomas murder, correct?
I'm not sure the exact date he was charged, but
Late 2015?
sure.
Okay. And in these songs, he openly talks about being charged for that murder, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And he talks about the money he paid lawyers.
Sure.
He talks about the extravagant amounts of money that he paid for bond, $500,000.
Sure.
Okay. I'm not saying you like it. I'm not saying I'm like it. Do you deny that potentially an artist, an aspiring artist, being charged in a high-profile case, beating a high-profile case, paying large amounts of bond, would be something that would be appealing in the world of drill music? Do you deny that?
No, engaging in violence and homicide skyrockets you to the top of the corporate ladder in drill music.
Okay.
Okay. This is great. This is a great point. Remember, he started the cross with drill music is kind of aggressive. Drill music's kind of violent. Drill music has this, right? Then he goes into this high-profile crime. You're charged. You want to be in drill music. Wouldn't that be good for your music? And she has to say yes. And she does. This is the one time she actually answers.
And he was saying he had been charged.
Correct. Correct.
Mr. Atkins, could you, or Mr. Abate, or Mr. Could you do me a favor? Ms. Knight's back. 436 VBA, please, if you could display that for me.
Correct.
And, again, this is him while he's trying to be an aspiring artist, correct? This time period?
I guess.
Okay. And first of all, let me just clarify one thing. In the background, we see a gas station. That is the gas station on Cleveland Avenue, correct?
I believe that's 221 Cleveland.
Okay. That's not McDaniel Street.
No.
Okay. Now, Mr. Stillwell, in this post, also makes reference to Donovan Thomas, doesn't he?
He does.
Okay. He makes reference in the hashtag Peanut Stone Grave.
Correct.
Okay. Publicly, he is tethering himself to that incident.
Correct.
Okay. And in the message he writes, in the caption, it says, "I fell off 100 times, 100 times I bounced back." Okay.
Correct.
Okay, hold
Talk
on.
about some things that happened prior.
Max's cross is really great, but I just noticed something. Okay. This screenshot right here, it says 16 seconds ago. Do you see that? 16 seconds ago. Now, I'm not a huge Instagram user. I know several of you follow me on Instagram. I appreciate that. And if you're not already on there, check us out. We put other types of content on there too. But in order, I think, to have this and have it from 16 seconds ago, it would have been like they got an alert. Like they have it, so if OG, whatever, Bull posts, they get an alert. So they're obviously like internet stalking this guy. Like they're looking for clues, right? Because 16 seconds ago, this isn't someone sent this in to them. This is them getting an alert.
To this post about falling down 100 times. Mr. Stillwell, prior to this post, had someone drive by the green store and shoot at his head, did he not?
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Stillwell, prior to this post, was driving in a car with a young lady named Tiara Jones and another lady named Miss Duncan, and a car sped up behind that car and started shooting at them, correct?
Correct.
He killed Tiara Jones and put Mr. Stillwell in the hospital.
Correct.
Mr. Stillwell, after he spoke to the investigators about the Tiara Jones case, was attacked on social media for talking to the police.
Correct.
All those things happened before he made this post about falling off 100 times and bouncing back.
A lot of things happen, yes.
Okay. Does this post ever say, "I killed Donovan Thomas"?
Nobody's attaching himself to the incident.
You're absolutely right. He's attaching himself to the fact that the police arrested him and people have been attacking him ever since. Isn't that true? I've been knocked down, I fell off 100 times, and 100 times I bounced back.
Objective speculation.
sustained.
It is speculation. But as I've told you before, the goal on cross is not actually to get an answer. It's to tell the jury how you want them to feel. So this is fine. Now, obviously, the detectives have fake accounts. And I'm thinking these detectives in Atlanta, all they do is play.
I'd like to talk to you about some of the work you did in collecting the posts from social media. And again, I don't mean to harp on this. Maybe I'm not asking correctly.
I really think that's all they do is play on Instagram all day.
I understand that you have given how many total social media posts did you pull within a folder?
I don't know. They were all compiled into a folder of relevant posts.
Okay, you say relevant posts.
Correct.
So who determined if they're relevant?
If they had anything to do with the hyper-violent back and forth, I felt that they were relevant to the investigation.
Okay, again, I'm going to ask, who determined if they were relevant? Who?
Just if I felt like they were.
So
and
you
I would,
determined.
from as being the person that.
Sorry, like, that little back and forth just made me fun. I don't know why it's so funny to me. Let's do it again.
If they had anything to do with the hyper-violent back and forth, I felt that they were relevant to the investigation.
Okay, again, I'm going to ask, who determined if they were relevant? Who?
Just if I felt like they were.
So
and
you
I would,
determined.
from as being the person that's listening and monitoring
So you.
wiretap and knowing the ins and outs of what's going on, I was able to determine what was relevant.
You determined what was relevant.
Correct.
Okay. And I understand that we have a thing of posts. What I want to know, when you're on Instagram, do you have notifications set for when people post? Are you scrolling Instagram? Are you looking at certain people's pages and not other people's pages? How are you doing it?
Yeah, how is she doing that?
We're monitoring both sides of the conflict, and it's not just me. There are several people that would
That did not answer the fucking question.
monitor. We'd all look together.
Talking about the social media posts.
Correct. We're monitoring both sides. So part of my job is to mitigate violence. So as a conflict is occurring, we're monitoring both sides of the conflict. So when we see, I have the constant job of monitoring to where if I see YFN down on Cleveland Avenue, which is a bunch of assault rifles, probably not great. So we need to monitor constantly to say, okay, we need to get marked units down to Cleveland to mitigate that. So we're constantly, I have a unit that I work with. Everybody was involved in the wiretap, the investigation. So everybody was tuned into what was going on.
Who's in that unit?
I mean, the gang unit, there's a bunch of people. I couldn't tell you that, give you a roster at that time. It's changed, but.
Okay, if we had reports, could we know who was on that unit?
They wouldn't. I don't know anybody in our gang unit that would give you a report of every social media post they screenshot.
Okay, well, I didn't ask if anyone in the gang unit would. I asked if you did. Did you write a report about it?
I didn't ask if anyone in the gang unit would. I asked if you did. Oh, Max in those reports, y'all.
Exactly which users you were following to pick up specific posts.
Mr. Schardt, you've asked me that before, and I've told you I've compiled every user you see in the folder is who I was monitoring.
Okay, and what about is there no one else that you were monitoring that's not in the folder?
The folder pretty much covers a whole lot of people.
Okay, and we just take it from you. No reports.
Whether you have all the posts, that I captured. They're in a folder, gathered, collectively organized in a folder for you. So I don't know what. Like, do you want a list of screen names that were?
I just want documentation of the work you did.
It's documented in a folder that was served and discovered.
Sorry. Like the jury's hearing that, the jury sees all of this. This old man, we call him YSL Grandpa. He works with Schardt. And YSL Grandma, she worked with Steele. So.
Some of those posts that you deem relevant are actually lyrics to songs, correct?
I have to see what you're referring to.
Could you Ms. Knight, could you display 471 VV? 471. Okay. This is Mr. Nichols, Camarvius Nichols, right?
Correct.
Okay, 471 VV is exactly how the state.
Oh, you guys, we saw Nichols' booking after he took the plea, and I'm gonna fast forward because this has lyrics, but we saw Nichols right after he took the plea. They made him shave his head.
Put this into evidence.
Correct.
Right? All right, and we're going to get back to exactly what this is in a little bit.
Correct.
But those words, what you're saying, I run with cold-blooded killers. Okay. When are you saying that you collected this?
Probably 2 days or a day or two after the murder of Mr. Drinks.
Okay. And those words Those were written by Mr. Nichols?
No, it's a song by NBA Youngboy that he used to. So what this is, and you select that, and you can overlay it onto your story. That's what was done here. Mr. Nichols made the social media post, and in the post, he picked this song to accompany his post.
Right, you know what? We're not going to get back to this. Let's deal with this right now. This is Cosmo. If you would.
We're gonna deal with this right now. Get it, Schardt. Get it, Schardt.
Yes.
Yeah, her job is just to be nosy, which I would actually be great at. It'd be a perfect job for me. Just give me some people to stalk on social media. I would love that. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Do you,
yeah, so that is a screen. Oh, can I explain?
okay, Mr. Kokomo, I think the witnesses had sufficient time to do it, so thank you, Mr. Kokomo. Do you recognize what's been marked as 60 VV?
Yes, it's a
Did you see how Max stopped her? No, this is my courtroom. That's how I roll.
video of his story in its entirety.
Okay. And is that the way you saw it on social media?
It was both a video that was submitted in discovery and a photo that was submitted. The relevant portion of that would have been relevant to our investigation was that you're posting a video the day after somebody's murdered in your presence.
Do you recognize?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I would move to admit DS-60 into evidence.
Admit it.
Permission to publish.
You may.
Let's see it. Let's see it. Let's see it. What is it? Publish it.
Yes.
So no, we're not going to publish it? It's in evidence. We're not going to publish it? Lord.
I have said that language at the very beginning. So you'll see where there's that green. That's not an other witness, though. That's.
Any testimony about the lack of, like, this is rehabilitation, and I don't recall any rehabilitation of any of these witnesses.
Okay, I guess they dismissed the jury and went into some other stuff. Oh man, Schardt came back and just killed this lady. It was great. It was so good. I think Lakeisha that they force everyone to shave their head as they go into the prison, and I'm sure that has to do with like gangs and lice and sanitation and all kinds of stuff. But they definitely shaved his head, and he looked pissed. You guys can check it out on Thugger Daily on X. I mean, Twitter. I hate how it's X because it makes me sound like a drug person. All right, here we go. Schardt is giggling. That's always a good sign to be happy in the morning.
Okay.
Stillwell on Winter Street, but obviously
Point or whatever, element 5 will now be that. Isn't that in our gang? It's if you look at what's there.
Okay, so they did a bunch of work on the jury charges. We're not going to go over jury charges. That's boring as shit.
that you felt were relevant.
Sure.
And that you felt were derogatory or mocking both the Christian McMiller and Darius Ford situation.
I'd have to see which posts were.
Well, we're going to get to individual
Okay.
posts, but some of the posts were derogatory and mocking Christian McMiller and Darius Ford.
Correct.
And then you also pulled posts that you thought were derogatory or referencing
Love Yak's outfit. Love the bow tie.
or mocking Shamel Drinks' dad. Is
Correct.
that correct? Okay. And let's be clear. As an investigator, you are not saying just because someone posts something derogatory or mocking or referencing the death of another individual, that means that they committed that crime. You are not saying that, are you?
That is correct.
Okay. And I just want to talk to you about a couple of these posts. I'm going to bring them up to you, okay? These are all this is a bundle of the posts that you collected that are in evidence, correct?
Sure.
All right, may I approach?
Yes.
You observed some posts that were made following the Christian McMiller Darius Ford double homicide.
Correct.
On March 10th going into March 11th. And these posts were in the days following.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, I heard the judge say this was her first RICO as a judge, and that makes me very happy. That is very good news. We do not want judges doing RICO all the time. That means that the state is improperly using RICO. I feel like they're improperly using it here, and so we don't want to see that often.
Ms. Knight, could you do me a favor and publish what's been admitted as 457 VV? Viverito, this is a post posted by one ABG_Big Nick, correct?
Correct.
And you know this person from the picture and also from his name on Instagram to be Nicholas Johnson.
Correct.
oh, I'm sorry. Okay, the evening after.
Correct.
About 20 hours after, 21 hours, or 19 hours after.
Somewhere around there.
Okay. And this post includes a, says slime and chalk.
Correct.
Was Saswaka indicted in this case? Was Saswaka indicted? I don't know. Why not? Because he said slime and chalk. Obviously, that makes him a criminal.
Okay. And you view this as a clear reference to Darius Ford and Christian McMiller being murdered in reference to a chalk outline of a body on the street.
Correct. Coupled with my knowledge and interactions with Mr. Johnson in the past, yes.
Right. I think you testified that Mr. Johnson, in your opinion, he's associated with Atlanta Blood Gang. Or,
He's documented as a member, and he's also a fixture at 12 Atlanta daily.
okay. So you saw this post, posted the next day, referencing the death, mocking slime and chalk. Mr. Johnson has not been charged for
Correct.
the murders of Christian McMiller and Darius Ford, correct?
Correct.
And the reason he hasn't been charged is because posting something like this, while it is insensitive, while it may be wrong, it doesn't mean that he killed Christian McMiller and Darius Ford, does it?
Correct. There's other things we would look at, like if he was in the vicinity of the murder on camera, coupled with a post that's not great, that would be something we take into consideration, but that didn't happen.
And Investigator Viverito, I knew you were going to be dying to say that, and we are going to talk about all the surveillance videos and all of the situation involving Mr. Drinks when I get to it, okay? But I'm asking...
I knew you'd be dying to say that, but we're going to get to it when I get to it. That's how I run a courtroom too, Max. You and me on the same page on that one. We're doing things my way, bitch. When I'm in that courtroom, everyone knows that I'm in charge of that witness. Like, if that's my witness, I'm in charge right now. Don't play no games. Look, I got my... Don't play no games!
Specifically about posts. Posts do not... That is not a confession to killing Darius Ford or Christian McMiller, is it?
Absolutely not. But as an investigator, you need to look at
So she's now admitted that just posting some stupid shit online does not mean you're a murderer. Finally.
things as a whole to piece things together, leading you towards suspects. So,
Okay, and that's why you collected this?
correct.
Okay. Ms. Knight, I'm going to ask you to publish 462 VV. Okay. 462 VV is two posts that showed up on this page labeled Joey_Hurst24, correct?
Correct.
All right, and on the left is Christian McMiller,
Correct.
and on the right is Darius Ford.
Correct.
And they're fairly self-explanatory. They're mocking the death of Mr. McMiller and Mr. Ford, correct?
Correct.
All right, and this was posted when?
I'd have to see the file name.
Okay, so you're not, and that's fine. Was it posted after the death of Christian McMiller and Darius Ford?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I understand your belief is that this is a trolling page or a fake page. Is that correct?
It's a page. Yes, it's a page that we had not seen surface really or be vocal until this point.
Now, and certainly when you see a page like this, there are certain investigative things that you could do to try to determine who is behind this page, correct?
Correct.
You could subpoena Instagram, you could check IP addresses to see who set up the page, etc.
You good?
Okay. You or anyone else that you know of did no such thing to try to determine who Joey Hurst was, the
No.
government name. Okay. And the reason you didn't, and I'm not trying to beat you up, the reason you didn't go through those steps, if you thought this was a confession, and you thought this meant that Joey Hurst killed Mr. McMiller and Mr. Ford, you certainly would have gone through those steps to uncover who it is behind this post, if you thought that was the killer.
If I thought that was, but the investigation led us to other suspects.
Okay. The bottom line is, you did not view these posts as signifying that whoever was behind this account was the killer of Mr. McMiller and Mr. Ford. You didn't view it that way.
Correct. The individuals that were making posts who we deemed as suspects, they were further investigated, whether it be cell phone extractions or social media.
Okay. 456 VV. Please, Ms. Knight. Thank you. Okay, and this post was collected on March 11th, 2022 at 11:30 p.m., correct?
Correct.
Okay, so again, about a day after Mr. McMiller and Mr. Ford were killed.
Correct.
Okay, and you testified on direct about what you thought new op pack just came in. It's kind of like we're smoking on our ops, correct? Okay. Certainly not kind, not nice, not sympathetic, and it's showing approval for what happened, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and this page is another one that you didn't know the government name of the person behind it.
Correct.
Okay, and you didn't go through any investigative steps, or anyone else that you know of go through any investigative steps to determine the person behind it.
Correct.
Okay, and the reason, again, is because this post, you didn't take it as a confession. You didn't take this post as saying, I'm the person who did it.
Correct.
Okay, cool. Finally, we're going to talk about Kelvin Watts.
Okay.
Okay, Kelvin Watts has not been arrested for the Christian McMiller or Darius Ford murder, has he?
He has not.
Okay. And this has all happened 2 years ago.
Correct.
Okay. Really, 2.5 years ago, more than 2.5 years ago. Mr. Watts made several posts regarding the death of Darius Ford and Christian McMiller.
Correct.
Okay. Ms. Knight, could you please publish 473 VV for me? Okay. In 473 VV, that's posted by Shell Kel Nutlife, correct?
Correct.
And you know that that'd be Kelvin Watts.
Correct.
And this was posted shortly after the death of Christian McMiller and Darius Ford?
Correct.
Okay, and it just actually depicts Mr. Donovan Thomas.
Correct.
And underneath Mr. Thomas's left eye are 2 shells.
Correct.
Okay, and as an investigator, you're aware of like prison tattoos or eye, teardrops under an eye, correct?
Yes, I spoke about on direct.
Okay, and you took this as kind of a play on the teardrops under the eyes of 2 shells indicating 2 bodies, Darius Ford and Christian McMiller.
Correct. The first time we started seeing the 2 shells under the eye was after the death of Christian Ford and Darius McMiller, I think in days following.
Okay, Ms. Knight, could you please publish 461 VV? Here's another picture of Shell Kel or Kelvin Watts that posted shortly after the death of Christian McMiller and Darius Ford, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and these are, you gotta look a little close, but I see the big shell off of his hair, but then there's 2 little shells under his left eye.
Correct.
Okay, and again, that's a post that you interpreted to be a reference to the death of Christian McMiller and Darius Ford.
Correct.
Okay. Ms. Knight, if you can publish 454, please. Okay, in this post, again, shortly after the death of Christian McMiller and Darius Ford, correct?
This was in the hours after they were killed, yes.
And this is on Kelvin Watts' page.
Yes.
And again, we see the 2 shells.
Correct.
Okay, and that had significance to you because it was 2 dead bodies.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And 460 VV, please, Ms. Knight.
I had 2 shells. There's 2 dead people. It has to be them.
This was posted shortly after the death of Christian McMiller and Darius Ford.
Correct.
And we have 2 shells, right?
Correct.
And we have a smiley face, except the lips are zip-tied or zipped up, I guess.
Correct.
And a black heart.
Correct.
Okay, and this was on Mr. Kelvin Watts' page.
Correct.
All right. Also, and Ms. Knight, also you're aware that Shell Kel or Kelvin Watts has made a song that references Christian McMiller and Darius Ford, correct?
He may have.
You never heard Mafia Story by Shell Kel and Third World?
I haven't, but it would not surprise me if he did.
I heard my ops died like some thoughts, referring to 2 snakes dying with their eyes wide open and their tongues out. Crime scene nasty in a fast car, died in empty traffic.
That sounds about on brand for Kelvin Watts.
Okay, and that was a reference to the Kia Stinger, the fast car is the Kia Stinger that Mr. McMiller and Mr. Ford were in.
That sounds about right.
Were Mr. McMiller and Mr. Ford riding in a Kia Stinger?
They were in a gray and color Kia Stinger.
Okay, and were they in fact shot on the highway?
Yes, they were on the highway.
Okay. Mr. Watts, despite these 4 posts that you collected and this song, has not been charged with the murder of Christian McMiller or Darius Ford, has he?
No.
No, he has not, but that's also an open investigation that's not assigned to me. So.
Okay, that's fine. So, but the answer is he has not been charged. And it's just 2 years, 8 months later.
It's still open active investigation.
Right, and you've had these, you collected these postings that Mr. Watts made way back in March of 2022.
Correct, but so investigations, just the social media posts aren't enough to write a probable cause. You need him maybe on video at the crime scene. So before that murder, things of that nature. So if the social media was enough probable cause, a lot of people probably would have gone to jail for this, but we don't do that.
Right, because there were a lot of people posting on social media.
Correct.
A lot of people posting horrible things on social media.
But unfortunately, nobody was on camera at the scene or there. There was no knife
agenda today, and I know that you want to talk about the security cameras, and we will absolutely talk about the security cameras. I promise you.
Commentary. Well, there's commentary going on both sides. Answer the question.
Commentary going on both sides. Answer the question.
That's asked.
Okay, I want to clean up some, we're going to shift off of social media and we're going to get to the wiretaps. Okay, I want to clear up some issues, or not issues. I want to talk about the wiretaps and what we talked about Friday and yesterday. You had a wiretap. I understand you had one on Mr. Sumlin's phone. I'm not going to talk about Mr. Summer's phone.
Okay.
Talk about Demekion Garlington. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Do you have the number for the total number of calls recorded or listened to during that wiretap?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay. Was it in the thousands? Is that fair?
Probably in the thousands, yes.
Okay. Do you know how many total calls Mr. Stillwell was a party to?
I couldn't give you a number, but it would probably be not as many as others because he went into custody, I think, within 6 days of the wire going up.
Fair enough. And just so we're clear, when you apply for a wiretap, you send something to the phone company, correct?
Correct.
And the phone company is told not to inform anyone about the wiretap, certainly not to inform the subscriber.
Correct.
So no one, to your knowledge, no one told Mr. Garlington that he's being recorded.
Correct.
Okay, because that would defeat the purpose of the wiretap,
Correct.
right? And to your knowledge, no one told anyone else that there was a wiretap on Mr. Garlington's phone.
Correct.
Okay. Now, the state referred to the calls that were played for the jury yesterday as a sampling. What was played to the jury wasn't exactly a random sampling of the calls, was it?
No, all of the calls were turned over, and it's my understanding that they had to be narrowed down.
Right. The state, in preparation of your testimony, they gave you a CD or some sort of flash drive with a number of calls that they chose and asked you to review them, correct? So you could speak intelligently about them.
Yes.
Okay. So it wasn't a random sampling, it was calls that the state chose to focus on.
It's my understanding that the prosecution and the defense decided on what could and would be played. So it wasn't just random, 20 calls out of a bag. It was calls that were relevant to the case.
Yeah, right. I'm just saying it just wasn't some random sampling.
Correct.
It was focused.
Correct.
Okay. And so let's talk about some of the calls. We're going to talk about specific calls in a minute, but if you go back to what was played yesterday on that wiretap of Mr. Garlington's phone, there were calls, repeated calls about keeping Miles Farley, who's a small man, right? He's a small gentleman, physically small.
Small, yes.
Okay. Talk about keeping Miles Farley from being violated or attacked at the Wright Street Jail, right? We heard several calls about Miles Farley and keeping him safe.
Correct.
Okay. We heard call, and do you have the call logs in front of you or anything?
I do not.
Okay. When you were testifying yesterday, what were you using to keep track of what calls which?
I didn't have anything in front of me.
Okay. Well, we heard call 2532 from April 3rd, 2534 from April 3rd, 2628 from April 4th, 3501 from April 13th, and 3697 from April 14th, all about Miles Farley and being in jail. Do you remember those 5 calls?
I do.
Okay. Was Shannon Stillwell a party to any of those calls?
He was not.
Okay. We also heard a call 3683 from April 14th about, and you could probably tell me who the people were. It was Demekion Garlington and someone about flying a drone into the jail, it seems.
Correct.
Okay. Was Shannon Stillwell a party to that call?
He was not.
Okay. Then we also heard about Demekion Garlington going on and on about running into someone named Blizzy at some hotel in Cobb County.
Correct.
Okay. To your understanding, was Shannon Stillwell present for any of those events in Cobb County?
No, I believe he was in custody.
He was in custody. So he wasn't involved with any of those things that Demekion was talking about running into Blizzy in Cobb County.
Correct.
All right. And then we also heard a call between, I believe, Demekion Garlington and Antonio Sumlin, and it sounded, and this was call 3171 and 3172 from April 9th, about seeing someone wearing some jewelry, and they were asking if you have a slider car with paper tags. It sounded like they were trying to come up with a way to commit a crime, a robbery, right?
Correct.
Okay. Was Shannon a party to that call?
No.
Okay. And Shannon was in jail at that time, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so he was not involved in that situation at all either, correct? All right, cool. All right. I'm going to talk to you about specific calls that have already been played. March 14th, 2022 at 9:59 p.m. It's called 335, okay? It's a call where you testified, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was a call between Demekion Garlington and a gentleman named DeMarco Boyer.
That is correct.
Okay, and that's at 9:59 p.m.
Correct.
Do you know how many, 9:59 and how many seconds? Are you aware of that?
I would have to look at the log for the seconds.
Okay. And in that call, Garlington instructs Boyer to switch to video.
Correct.
Okay. Now, based on your investigation, you said Boyer was at the gas station.
Correct.
And you also said, well, you were about to say that, I cut you off. Boyer, your investigation has concluded that Boyer was in Mr. Nichols' car.
Correct.
Okay, so, and you're basing that on your investigation. You're also basing it on the fact that Miles Farley, in that video, when he goes back to the car, gets into the backseat at the BP.
That and there are calls from the wire that say that he's in the car, yes.
Fair. So this call at 9:59 between Garlington and Boyer, your investigation is Garlington, this is your investigation, is Garlington is in Mr. Stillwell's rented white Audi.
Correct.
And Mr. Boyer, who's not charged in this case, is a passenger in Mr. Nichols' Ford Fusion.
Correct.
Okay, white Ford Fusion.
Correct.
Okay. Your investigation, based on the time on the surveillance video from the FedEx surveillance is that the shooting happened around 10:01 p.m., correct?
I don't know if it's based on the time on the FedEx video.
Okay, well, what's your understanding of when the shooting occurred? If you know.
I don't know how they arrived at 10:02, but I know that's when both cars pull off. Shortly thereafter, within probably a minute or two, the cars pull off from the gas station.
Okay. Now, what I want to know is, it's a matter of timing. The 9:59 and however many seconds that this call is made where eventually Garlington tells Boyer to go to video, that 9:59 and however many seconds is based on the clock used during your wiretap. That's where we get that time,
Correct.
right? Okay, so that's based on the wiretap time. Okay. So, and then of course, after they hang up, then do you know if there was a subsequent video or FaceTime call?
I believe you could see the data transmission come through.
Okay, and do you know how long that call was or when exactly when it took place?
Immediately after, but I would have to look at the log.
Okay. And my question is, we have 3 different sets of time here. We have the wiretap time.
Correct.
We have the FedEx video time.
Correct.
And we have a BP video time.
Correct.
Okay. Are any of those, to your knowledge, are any of those 3 separate surveillance systems synced up?
They're not, so typically what you have to do is go back and sync them, because I know the wiretap is a constant. I know that's an accurate time.
Okay, so you know, and that's fine. So you know the wiretap is an accurate time, but we don't know if the FedEx is an accurate time or the BP is an accurate time.
I'd have to look at the timestamps on both.
Okay, so I guess what I'm getting at is we can't just go by BP time and go to 9:59 and however many seconds and say, oh, that's when that call was placed.
I went off of the wiretap data.
Right, exactly. Right, and that's what you were in charge of the wiretap. But I'm going to go back to my question, and that makes complete sense to me that you went off the wiretap time. But we cannot go back to the BP and look at the BP at 9:59 and however many seconds and say that's when this call was made, because those 2 timing systems between the wiretap and the surveillance might not be synced up.
Correct. I'm not sure if they were or they weren't, but typically that's something I double check.
Okay, and the same thing for the FedEx. We can't look at the FedEx time and just go to 9:59 and however many seconds and say, oh, this is the exact time when that call was between Mr. Garlington and Mr. Boyer, between those 2 cars was made. We can't do that, can we?
Correct. I go with what I know to be constant.
Gotcha.
We have learned that.
9:59 on the wire.
Correct.
Remember, we learned about Steele was obsessed with the McDonald's surveillance videos, but we learned about surveillance videos and how they're always off. The time is never right. Back when Steele was with us.
Okay. Mr. Atkins or Ms. Knight, and I should ask you, could you please publish what you played yesterday at call 3:50? I would ask. We listened to another call at 2:01 a.m. between. Do you know who that call was?
I'd have to hear it.
Okay, well, I'm going to cut to the chase. You said in court that you heard someone say, riding by the scene.
Oh, this is so good.
I don't know if I said that verbatim, but they're riding back through, I think is the direct quote.
This is
And
so
you said,
good.
but you said the scene.
They may have been riding back through the scene.
Okay, well, do you not know what call I'm talking about?
I know which call you're referring to, yes.
All right, and if you, and do you know who the speakers were?
Well, from the wiretap, one would have been in Garlington.
Right.
And I believe the other one may have been Boyer. I have to hear the call and misspeak on it.
Okay, and people were fussing with each other. Someone was fussing with someone about not having a ride to get back to where they needed to go. It's essentially just the call, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, if you could play, if you could publish, right, and whatever, yes, if you could just publish, and I'm going to stop after about 40 seconds.
Bro. Who that was?
Okay, can you publish? All right, now, Miss Investigator Viverito, where, do you know who the speakers are?
I believe it's Boyer, but I need to hear a little bit more. That was kind of
That's it. All right, Miss Hilton, if you could.
So y'all RP, the YP race? Yeah, I don't know. They who got his change, who changed his little J5 to J? Oh, for real? Yeah, y'all the YP race nigga. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, the little PSK nigga. Oh, yeah, I had a J5 with him last night. That's probably what it was. Yeah. Okay.
I know we're listening to it really fast, but that's how it sounds.
I'm trying to get the other kid data address right quick. And kid address, they sent the young group. For real?
Okay, I'm going to play it at normal for this.
Could you just tell me when you hear anything about the scene?
Okay, let's listen to it.
Oh, for real? Yeah, the YP Ray nigga. Oh, I didn't even know that. Yeah, the little PLK nigga. Oh, yeah, I had a J5 with me last night. That's probably what it was. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Yo, okay, I'm sorry. You're going by
I heard something about last night.
Right, it's the PD call. All right, here we go.
Okay, here we go.
This is the one I meant to pull up for you, Investigator Viverito.
Joe. All right, man, there was all kinds of shit going on. I just jumped in the other car, bro. Y'all niggas don't be getting dropped off and they ain't got no motherfucking ride to go back home to. That don't make sense. Yeah. You're supposed to be getting dropped off for a nigga ride with a nigga who brought you. Yeah. That's stupid as fuck, man. You need to be on the damn hill, y'all. What the hell? We right here down here. Y'all what? Ride past around the sea.
Okay, stop. Did you not just hear him say riding past through the city?
He said riding past trying to see.
Well, where's the scene?
I said...
You said scene before, now you're saying trying to see, and I'm saying city.
You may have misunderstood what I was saying. Or you got to understand when these calls come in, when you click on the call, it will also provide a map of where they are, and the next call may show where they traveled to after that. It's my understanding that he traveled back towards that area.
Okay, towards the area. You mean the city? It's in the city.
They never left the city.
Okay. Investigator Viverito, you previously testified that he said going to the scene, and now you're saying to this jury that he didn't say scene, he said see. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I don't know if I said he said. I don't believe I said he said he's riding through the scene. He may have rode back. I think he was traveling back towards the scene.
And I know you're an expert, but if the jury listens to this and hears city, is that okay with you?
But that's not what's said, so I would clarify for them.
I understand that you want to tell everyone what's said here, but you've already given two different stories. You said scene, and then you said see.
Overruled.
Overruled you. That was argumentative as fuck, and she overruled it.
Is that okay?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, call 416, and I don't need to publish. Thank y'all. It's from the early morning hours of March 16, 2022. Okay, there was actually two calls that were played. Do you recall?
Correct.
Okay, one is Mr. Garlington and someone that you say is my client, and the person's whispering. I'm not even going to dispute it. Okay, we'll just say it's my client.
Okay.
Whispering about hiding in the crawl space.
Correct.
Okay, and then the second call is Mr. Garlington and my client talking about what just happened.
Correct.
And of course, what just happened was the house was shot up, and then a bunch of police officers showed up, and no one was arrested.
Correct.
Right. Okay. So, and that was the same day, of course, that you spoke to Shannon Stillwell. You put him in the back of the police car, or someone put him in the back of the police car, and you spoke to him, and he told you he was in fact driving the white Audi.
Correct.
All right. So, that call, let's just review some things that were discussed by Mr. Garlington and Mr. Stillwell. They talked about their amazement about not being hit by any of the bullets that were fired into 2830 Waters Road, correct?
Correct.
They talked about their amazement that the police let them go from that location.
Correct.
They talked about how they hid from the police.
Correct.
Mr. Stillwell talked about being placed in the police car.
Correct.
Mr. Stillwell said that he denied knowing McMain when asked and said he was from Thomasville.
Correct.
Okay. That was misleading, right?
Correct.
Because he does in fact know McMain.
He does.
All right, and McMain, just so we're clear, is Christian McMillan.
He is.
Yeah. And he talks about getting out of there as soon as possible. Like, speeding away because he couldn't believe that y'all, the police, let him go.
He does, but he says prior to leaving, he collected his FN and his rifle or stick out of, and he left.
I'm going to get there. Okay. And they talked about seeing you too, right?
They did.
All right. So let's talk about, I know he, in that call, and clearly I'm getting there, he talked about sneaking his FN away from the scene, right?
Correct.
And about sneaking his stick out of one of the cars. I think the gray car.
Correct.
All right. Okay. Now, the FN, you've testified, you know that an FN 57 is registered in Miss Taisha Alexander's name, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that gun was located at Meadowlark Drive on March 17, 2022, correct? The next day after this call.
Correct.
All right. Does that FN shoot .40 caliber bullets?
Does not.
That could not have been the murder weapon for Chamel Drinks.
No.
Could it? Okay. He talks about taking a stick from a car on the scene, right?
Correct. And
you know the stick to be an AK-47 type assault rifle, correct?
It could be an AK-47, it could be an AR-15, it could be, it's a rifle.
Typically shoot 7.62 caliber bullets.
Correct.
Okay, not 40 caliber.
Nope.
Okay, so you would know that that stick that he talks about taking from the scene once you guys let him go is in fact not the weapon used to shoot Mr. Drinks.
Correct.
All right. And in this call, where, and you don't have any reason to believe Mr. Stillwell knew he was being recorded.
Correct.
Or Mr. Garlington knew he was being recorded. In this call, he never talks about taking any other guns from the scene.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so you have a call where Shannon Stillwell has no idea that anyone is recording him, and he says, I went back and got these guns, and neither of them could be the murder weapon. Oh, but he was on the video footage. I mean, come on, you guys. What kind of investigations are these?
Okay. Call 2119 is another call that was played. It's from April 1st, 2022 at 12:29 a.m. It was a call between Demekion Garlington, who's on the wiretap, and Shannon Stillwell, who's in jail at this point, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And Demekion is on his normal phone, and you testified that Shannon Stillwell, when you're in the jail, you said there's wall phones, right?
Correct.
Okay, and that's, the jury's heard those recordings where they talk about Securus, and this phone will be recorded, and they are in fact recorded.
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Stillwell was not on a recorded line.
Correct.
He was on a cell phone from the jail.
Correct.
Okay, so he, in common sense, he doesn't know that Demekion Garlington is being wiretapped.
Correct.
Okay, and he has no reason to believe that the cell phone he's using from the jail is being recorded.
Correct.
It's fair to say that they believe that they're having a private communication that is not being recorded.
Correct.
All right. Mr. Atkins, could you do me a favor? This call, 2119, I'm talking about at 12:29 a.m. Could you play on April 1st, 12:29 a.m.? We're just going to cue that call up, okay? Now,
Half the time in this case is just queuing up evidence.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins. And if you could cue it up to 2 minutes and 40 seconds.
They're like, he said, look, I keep telling him, like, chill, like, I know. Yeah, I'm like, this ain't nothing, bro. Like, they just doing that because they seem like they got gas. It's like, just chill. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, man. I keep telling them the same thing like this, bro. Just like, I'm feeling fucking cat. Listen, bro, no. Just tell them you want to talk, bro. Like,
Not one word.
Yeah.
What they try to portray, or what they say, man, don't say shit.
Yeah. I ain't know that. I didn't.
Maybe you can keep that up because I'm going to ask you to play another part of it. Thank you, Mr. Atkins. So on that call, again, neither party has reason to believe they're being recorded. That's Demekion Garlington and Shannon Stillwell.
Correct.
And they talk about they're going to assume shit.
Correct.
Mr. Garlington says, y'all didn't do nothing.
Correct.
And then Mr. Stillwell says, they just saying it because they seen us at the gas station.
Correct.
Wow.
Mr. Atkins, if you could please...
That's literally what happened. They saw him at the gas station and assumed they were guilty.
What the hell, twin, man? You're still in your...
Yeah. Okay, what is that?
You know what's right?
Yeah, see. Who?
Yo, folks.
Yeah.
And so much gossip. So much of this
What's that? Okay. And then,
case is based on gossip.
Let's talk about Mr. Stillwell's phone that was collected.
Sure.
Okay. Do you know you're able to view? So you collect the phones. Detective Leon Packer, he dumps the phones, and then you're able to view the phones, what the contents of the phones through a program called XRZ. Is that correct?
XRY.
XRY. Okay. And you get just a whole bunch of information that's in whoever's phone.
The contents of the phone are organized by category.
Right, and we're talking about pictures, text, emails, instant message, call logs, location, data, internet searches.
Correct.
Notes.
Correct.
Okay. And if you don't know, that's fine. But do you know how many texts or calls total were in this phone?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it would be listed on the extraction, on the front page of the extraction. When you open it up digitally, it'll give you what you're going to see initially is everything by categories. It'll say 20,000 texts, 100 calls, things of that nature.
Okay. Ms. Knight, if you would please display 227 VVA2. Oh, Ms. Knight. VVA2. Yes, VVA2. 227 VVA2. A. Okay, this is one of the text messages, or one of the text conversations that was introduced on Friday, I believe. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, and this is from Mr. Stillwell's phone.
Correct.
All right, and in his phone, Mr. Stillwell's talking to, is that D? Do you know that number to be Demekion Garlington?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, because there's a couple of D's in this case, but you believe this to be Demekion Garlington?
He did change his number right before the wiretap, so I believe that's the number before.
Okay, and if you could zoom out a little bit, Ms. Hilton. Oh, Mr. Atkins, so we can see the whole conversation. Thank you, Mr. Atkins. So in this conversation, to add context, Mr. Stillwell is indicating that one of his two phones is at Big House.
Correct.
Okay. Do you take that to be Darius Ford's house? And again, let's be clear. This conversation occurred December 24th, 2021.
Okay.
Okay. So we're talking about 3.5 months before any of this involving Christian McMiller's death or Darius Ford's death or Shamel Drink's death occurs.
Correct.
Okay. Do you take that to be Big's phone? Is there another Big? Do you not know?
There is another Big.
Okay. So, but in any event, Mr. Stillwell is saying he left his phone at someone else's house.
Correct.
Okay. And then D says, finna take it in where you at, indicating that he's taking Mr. Stillwell's phone, right?
I don't take that as taking the phone, like finna take it in, like I'm finna go to sleep or go home.
Fair enough.
Like take it in for the night.
Fair enough. Could you go down, Mr. Atkins? Okay, and this is the part that the state introduced.
Okay.
He says, if Polka asks, tell her I'm op hunting. Okay. He did not say I'm op hunting.
Correct.
He said, if Polka asks, tell her I'm op hunting.
Correct.
Okay. And Polka, you know to be who?
Taisha Alexander.
And that is Mr. Stillwell's girlfriend. At the time.
I guess, yes, I don't. Yes, sometimes, yes.
And you also know from your review of the calls that Mr. Stillwell was having some issues with fidelity.
Yes.
Okay. So he's just saying, if Polka asks, tell her I'm op hunting.
Correct.
All right, thank you, Mr.
Having issues with fidelity is like the nicest way I've ever heard someone say cheating.
Mr. Atkins, can we go back to that call? I think I finally got my stuff together here. And they were talking about people were going to assume things, and they're just saying it because they saw us at the gas station.
Correct.
Okay. I want to play, Mr. Atkins, if you could start playing it. I guess we could start at 11:28.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got out of town now. So you gonna get ready to come back. I was gonna lie with that.
Yeah. You ain't talking all night. That whole night crazy, bro.
Yeah, I just talked to her today. I was telling her, I'm like, he honest.
Shit crazy. I don't even be texting that back no more.
I should be telling her, like, tap shit.
Yeah, I don't even be responding to that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I'm finna get bro back your phone, right? I'm gonna get up with you though.
I do that now. I got you.
All
right, later.
All right, Will. Okay, let me just ask you this, and we're going to get it together, and we're going to get it played. Do you remember on that call, that same call, that unrecorded call, I mean, that these two gentlemen thought that they were talking to themselves without being recorded. Do you remember Mr. Stillwell saying, when they test for gunpowder, it's going to come back clean?
I do.
Okay, and that's on this call.
Correct.
All right, and he does not say the car has been cleaned.
Correct.
He's saying, don't worry about it, because when they test for gunpowder, it's going to come back clean.
Correct.
Okay. And that was on the private call between Mr. Stillwell and Mr. Garlington that they had no reason to believe was being recorded.
Correct.
So basically, Shannon was like, oh, yeah, they think I did it, but it's not a big deal because the gunpowder residue is not in my car. So they'll be able to see that I didn't do it. And he said that on the phone before any of this went down. He's being recorded. He's like, nah, like they'll test it and know. But they tested it and they still charged him. Assholes.
Okay, I'm going to go back to the phone. You made note of 227 VVB11, and we don't need to display it, but it was basically something in Mr. Stillwell's notes that said, pop my shit, I really got options, 4 little ops, they be dropping.
Correct.
Okay, and that was in March 15th, 2022 at 12:52 a.m. The phone says that that's when it was entered.
It might seem either modified or entered, yes.
Okay, and we're going to get to it, but you're aware that Mr. Stillwell's grandmother, Betty Jackson, texted him about the shooting, about seeing it on the news that night? Well, it's going to be in evidence. I'm asking if she's aware. You're aware of that?
I was aware that Miss Alexander notified him about a shooting in Mechanicsville. I don't know if Miss Jackson did.
Okay, it was hours. This would have been hours after Miss Alexander alerted him as well, correct?
Okay.
Correct?
I'd have to see it. I'm not.
Okay. All right, we'll get to it, but this was at 12:52 a.m.
Okay.
Right?
I haven't seen it, so I just need
Okay, and we've already discussed ops.
Correct.
Dropping ops. Those are common themes, common topics of drill music, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And at the time, your investigation, at the time that he entered this note into his phone, he was in fact at the studio, correct? At 12:52 a.m. on March 15th.
After leaving the gas station, they went to a studio. I did not have location data on Mr. Stillwell to say, but I believe they should have still been at the studio.
Still been at the studio, creating music when he entered that note.
Creating music, hanging out. Like, yeah, that's what they do. Hang out at the studio.
All right, cool. And then,
I love how Schardt says, all right, cool.
you talk about search words. A search that you noted about a Windsor Street shooting, right? That was in Mr. Stillwell's phone.
So he didn't, and I clarified that on direct. He didn't search Windsor Street. He searched Fox 5.
Okay.
And then clicked on, and then within Fox 5, then searched the Fox 5 website.
I appreciate that. So on 3/17 at 2 in the morning, Mr. Stillwell clicked on the Fox 5 website to this article.
Correct.
Okay. Didn't search your testimony. He didn't search words like Windsor Street or anything, but he clicked on the article, and that's what shows up in the phone.
I'd have to see the screen. I believe he searched Fox 5, traveled to the Fox, like say I open my phone and I want to go to Amazon. I search Amazon, click on Amazon, and then on Amazon I would then search. That's what happened. So search for Fox 5, went to Fox 5, then went on Fox 5, I believe searched Windsor Street shooting, and then clicked on the article, is what it looks like.
Okay, and Ms. Knight, could you just display 227 VV88 so everyone knows what we're talking about? Okay, so this is what you're talking about, right? The search.
Correct.
Okay, next, and this is 3:17 and 2:31 and 56 seconds in the morning.
Since when is searching local news illegal?
Investigator Viverito, I am approaching you with what's been marked 57A, DS57A.
Dude's like 30. He's interested in local news. Like, once you hit your 30s, that's the kind of shit you do. Like, come on.
DS57C, DS58. Could you look at these and tell me if you're ready?
Sure.
Right, and those are, and are those excerpts from, are those conversations from the data that was downloaded from Mr. Jackson's phone?
Sure, the first one is the one I spoke about that I had seen of Miss Alexander informing him about the shooting.
It's not in this.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Are those accurate representations of the data that was in Mr. Stillwell's phone?
Yes.
Okay, Your Honor, at this point, I would move to admit DS57A, DS57C, and DS58 into evidence.
A, C, and E. Say that again, please, if you don't mind.
It's in DS58.
Oh, okay. Don't know where the E came from. Okay. Those are good.
Mr. Kokomo, could you please, permission to publish, Your Honor. Mr. Kokomo, could you please publish, so in this, in DS57A, investigator, this is a conversation between Taisha Alexander, also known as Poca, correct?
Correct.
And Mr. Stillwell.
Correct.
Okay. At 3:14:22, at 11:01 p.m., Miss Alexander reaches out to, or texts Mr. Stillwell and says, "You okay? Somebody just got killed in the Ville. Ugh. Or ugh. Atlanta, too much right now, right?"
Correct.
All right, and then they respond to each other with kisses. Mr. Stillwell asks who got killed, correct?
Correct.
And then Miss Alexander eventually says, "I don't know yet," but before that she sends some sort of screen message, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and that's at, the message is sent at 11:19:47 p.m., correct?
Correct.
All right, and Mr. Kokomo, if you could publish 57C. And this is the screenshot that, or the picture that Miss Alexander sent to Mr. Stillwell at 11:19 p.m., correct?
Correct.
And it's a photo, and is that Windsor Street?
I believe so.
And it's captioned, "Somebody just got killed in Mechanicsville."
Correct.
And it's posted by someone named Ori Billions.
Correct.
And whenever Miss Alexander sent this picture or downloaded it, it already had 2,000 views, correct?
Correct.
All right, so by that night, just based on what we see in his phone, by that night at 11 o'clock or 11:15 or 19, the word had spread about a shooting, correct?
Correct.
In Mechanicsville.
Correct.
Where someone was killed.
Correct.
Okay, and this was not a secret, it was being spread throughout social media.
Correct.
All right. Mr. Kokomo, if you could post DS58. Okay. This is a conversation, and I'm sorry, it's marked 58A.
Okay, we're about to hear from Schardt how we know that he is at the cookout. Okay, when you hear him, I'm not gonna say anything more.
So, Your Honor, if we could just amend that to make 58A.
Sure.
Thank you. So, looking at DS58A, this is a conversation between Mr. Stillwell and Boss Lady, correct?
Correct.
And you know Boss Lady to be Betty Jackson, correct?
Correct.
His grandmother.
Correct.
His grandmother raised him.
Correct.
At 11:19 p.m., Shannon texts his grandmother, "I love you."
Correct.
Boss Lady, or Betty Jackson, responds, "Mama love you so much, heart, heart, kiss, 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 because you're my sweet thing."
Correct.
And Mr. Stillwell says, "Yeah." I don't know if I'm...
That's how you know, right there, because you my sweet thing. The way he said that, you know he goes to the cookout, y'all.
Not saying it right, but yeah, right?
Sure.
And then Miss Jackson gives a thumbs up, right? And then at 11:26:57, Miss Jackson says to Mr. Stillwell, or texts Mr. Stillwell, "Hope you are not near Windsor Street shooting on the news," right?
Right.
And then she says, "Answer me, please."
Correct.
And eventually at 11:41, 15 minutes later, Mr. Stillwell responds, "I'm at the studio, Mom."
Correct.
So, at 11:26, according to this conversation, not only did Miss Alexander alert Mr. Stillwell about the shooting on Windsor Street, but Miss Jackson says there's a shooting on Windsor Street, right?
Correct.
And it's on the news.
Correct.
What's this information about the shooting on the news at that point?
I know that the article that Miss Alexander had, that's a female, I don't know her real name, in Atlanta, that wasn't like an ATL scoop or a news thing, And then I don't know how Miss Jackson saw it, so I'm not sure if you got word of mouth from Miss Alexander, worried about it. I don't know.
Maybe she saw it on the news. Maybe
I don't know when the news coverage began.
Okay. The bottom line is, by 11:26 that night, 2 different people had informed Mr. Stillwell about a shooting, a death, Windsor Street.
Correct.
And the word had spread throughout. It wasn't just Mr. Stillwell that was being informed. The word had spread throughout the Atlanta community that quickly.
Correct.
All right. And basically, the phone indicates on March 17th, 2 days later, Mr. Stillwell clicked on a news article about that shooting.
He sought out the news article and then clicked on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
He sought out and clicked on it.
Correct.
All right. Cool.
I mean, 2 days later, like.
All right. Right when you started testifying, you remember when you were going through a timeline, and I think it was from 2019 to 2020, different events that had occurred?
I do.
Okay. And we heard a lot of names. Tanquarius Mender, right?
Correct.
And you said he's a member of the Rolling Crips.
As well as YSL, yes.
Okay, and we heard about Stephen Harris.
Correct.
And he's a Crip. And we heard about...
I'm sorry, Stephen Harris is a member of YSL.
Okay, he's a member of YSL. We heard about Marcus Sims.
Correct.
He's a Crip.
Yes.
Okay, we heard about Wayne Alford. And we heard about a bunch of other names in this timeline
Correct.
that you were going through. Well, first of all, let me just ask you this. When you were asked about all these events, you were referring to some sort of... You were refreshing your recollection with a sheet that was in front of you.
Correct.
Okay, that was highlighted, color-coded.
Correct.
Okay, who... Did you create that sheet?
Mr. Abadi had created the sheet at the timeline.
Okay, so when you were testifying about those events, you were refreshing your recollection. You were being asked questions by the prosecutors, correct?
Correct.
And then you didn't have any reports of your own with you, did you, about any of these events?
No, I didn't. I was at the GBI at that time, and there were APD cases, so they wouldn't be my reports.
So you didn't investigate any of these events?
So the way it would work is gangs typically doesn't take an aggravated assault or homicide or things of that nature. We will work with those units and provide them information and assist with their investigations. So the reports, I will help with the cases, but they would fall with those investigators.
Did you have any reports with you when you were your reports with you when you were discussing this?
No.
Okay. But you were refreshing your recollection off of a sheet of paper that was prepared by the prosecutor.
Well, this is something we had discussed. There's numerous incidents, so we needed a timeline to keep them correct.
All right, well, let me just ask you this. In all those things, 2019, 2020, that you discussed, all those events, Shannon Stillwell wasn't charged with any of those events, was he?
He was not.
Okay, cool.
Okay, cool.
Remember when you talked about
Okay, cool.
how I was asking you about your reports and you said you write them in search warrant applications?
Correct.
All right, I want to talk to you about that.
Ooh, we about to get real
House
good.
Of Jeffrey Williams on 355 Allison Drive, correct?
Correct.
All right.
No, that's because Rachel, a hybrid gang's not a thing.
Having your affidavit that you wrote
Sure.
out there with you, would that be helpful?
Sure.
These affidavits that you fill out to take to a judge to try to get a search warrant, they're under oath?
Yes.
Okay. A judge relies on them, relies on accuracy of them, correct?
Correct.
Relies on them to be complete?
Correct.
The intent of an affidavit is not to mislead a judge, is it?
No,
Okay. And you wouldn't mislead a judge, would you?
I would not.
Okay. And you filled out this affidavit on May 9, 2022, correct?
Following the presentation to the grand jury, yes.
Right, May 9, 2022?
Correct.
Yep. And that was also in the wake of these various attacks on Lucci, on Rashawn Bennett in the jail.
Correct.
Okay. In fact, you were interested. You had that one with Jada Myrick. With Mr. Eppinger and Mr. Sumlin, and Mr. Eppinger was trying to get Mr. Sumlin to talk to someone to get payment, right? And you suspected that person to be Jeffrey Williams.
Suspected, and that was confirmed by Mr. Sumlin.
Okay, so you suspected that to be Jeffrey Williams.
That was confirmed by Mr. Sumlin, yes.
Okay. Again.
Yes,
So
just,
you-
I suspected, yes.
Questions I asked. Okay.
Just answer the question, bitch.
So you saw a search warrant for Jeffrey Williams' home for evidence on these matters, correct?
No.
Okay. You sought a search warrant for Jeffrey Williams' home.
For his body, for his cellular devices, and for gang evidence.
Okay. Okay. So, in Mr. Williams' home.
Correct.
In your
She's obnoxious.
affidavit, the affidavit is what's used to develop PC or probable cause for the judge to rely on, right?
Correct.
And in your affidavit, I think it's in the 4th page. You reference a post that you saw on the internet about Jeffrey Williams posting YFN, and this is already in evidence. YFN, if I ain't like what you do for your mother and kids, I would have been killed you, right?
Correct.
That's referenced in your affidavit.
Which page is that on 4?
Well, mine's not numbered, but I'm just gonna go by.
Your affidavit should be numbered. Yes, this is why. So it might be used in court. We need to be able to just,
It's on the 5th page. I'm sorry. If we count, and again, they're not numbered, but I'm just going by the 5th page that I have.
Oh.
And it would be the first.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Well, we know she can count till 5.
Okay, and that made your affidavit because you thought that was important to show Mr. Williams and his veiled threats to Mr. Bennett, correct?
Correct.
Okay, cool. Can I have that back? I'm just going to
Sure.
I'll get it back to you.
Cool. Okay, cool.
I'm going to have to see the page because these pages are out of, whatever I have is not the same as yours.
Include a text thread between Mr. Mooney Lee and Mr. Williams, correct?
Correct.
And as part of this text thread, you draw the judge's attention to a specific line, correct?
I included that amongst other things in the affidavit, yes.
Well, there's one particular line that you put in a bigger font, and you also circled it, or it's circled, correct?
It's circled, yes.
Okay. And you circled it to draw attention to it, correct?
To what I was referring to, yes.
Yes. And the line that you circled to draw attention to was YSL Rule the World Kid, 24M on an N head, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you wanted to highlight that passage said by Mr. Williams in the text thread, correct?
Correct.
You wanted to highlight that for the judge?
Amongst other quotes, yes.
Okay. What was he referring to? Why did you feel it important to highlight 24M on an N's head to the judge?
Well, he's referring to YSL ruling the world.
Yep.
As an organization, and it could be a play on words or a play on things that have happened, saying 24M on a racial expletive head.
Okay, 24M on a racial expletive head. It sounds like Mr. Williams had money on someone's head.
It could be taken that way, yes.
It could be taken that way, and you highlighted it and circled it for the judge, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you believe that too. You wouldn't have misled the judge about what was being discussed, would you? You believe that to be a threat, didn't you?
I didn't say it was a threat. It's saying that he's willing to, that's how they talk. They'll talk about, they have the ability to put money on people's heads.
Okay. Mr. Kokomo, could you please publish Jeffrey Williams 3 and 4? Publish Jeffrey Williams 3. This thread between Wooney Lee and Mr. Williams.
Ah, the deep breath. Yeah, honestly, Gaither at this time is very better right now. Like, I'm gonna fast forward because I don't want any damn copyright bullshit on some stupid shit.
I did not, but I would still stand by what I put in the affidavit.
Okay, so you're telling me right now, on a sworn statement to a judge with knowledge that Lil Uzi Vert just got a $24 million diamond put into his head the days before Mr. Williams typed that, you would still put that quote, YSL ruled the world, 24 million on an N head in that affidavit?
Objection. Vague, compounding, mischaracterization of what?
It was not vague.
I did not have knowledge of Lil Uzi Vert getting a diamond in his head.
Okay, so all right, so let me ask that last question again. Instead of saying I would do it again, if you had knowledge that Lil Uzi Vert just got $24 million diamond in his head and that Mr. Williams was referring to that, would you still have put that in the affidavit?
Yes.
The judge?
Not,
I'm sorry, I fell out of my chair because that fucking hoe just said I would keep it in my affidavit even though I know it is no longer true. Even though now I know it's about Lil Uzi Vert, I would keep it in my affidavit. So on the stand, she's saying I would lie. It's like a parallel universe over there in Fulton County. I mean, holy shit. Hey, Tavonda, welcome. Everyone that's a member, you're all paused because we got demonetized. So if you are upset about that, I understand. That's YouTube's fault. Go ahead and let them know. We got demonetized. No, the state cannot come back and call witnesses because they already rested and the judge already made a directed verdict. So the state is done. Thank God. All right, so back to Max. He literally just caught Viverito in a lie, saying that she would lie under oath.
Misleading. May I explain?
Yes.
Okay. What I'm saying is this social media direct message is different than what you see on here. Lil Uzi Vert, I don't remember, is a member of YSL. So like it might be a new, like a term they're going to coin. Like wipe his nose, things of that nature. So 24 on somebody's head might be a new thing that they're going to go with. He's saying YSL rules the world. As the leader, he can make that assertion.
You're doing a lot of explaining. Did you do any of that explaining in your sworn affidavit to the judge?
The sworn affidavit reads, Jeffrey Williams brags that YSL rules the world and has $24 million.
Okay. And clearly, when you put highlighted and circled 24M on a N's head, you're sending a message to that judge, are you not? Let's be real.
I'm referring to my words that I wrote say, Jeffrey Williams brags that YSL rules the world and has $24 million.
All right, and just so we're clear, as we sit here today, as someone, a law enforcement officer, even with knowledge of this, you would still put that in front of the judge?
There are different interpretations to everything as we've seen throughout this whole trial.
I agree. Can we make our determinations, or are you going to make the determinations for us?
Sustained.
Do you think maybe you misinterpreted what was said by Mr. Williams? Is that a possibility?
I think it differs from what was presented on the internet and between direct messages, as we've seen.
So your answer is no, your interpretation is perfect, pristine.
My interpretation was YSL rules the world, and they have $24 million. That's what I wrote in my words in the affidavit.
Look at Kokomo.
I didn't say Mr. Williams has $24 million on wife and Lucci's head. I didn't say that. I said YSL rules. He claims that YSL rules the world and has $24 million.
No, you didn't say it. You just put in a bigger font and circled it for the judge, right?
Right? The Instagram handle.
In the circle?
It's circle, correct?
You got it. Got you.
Let's talk about.
Got you.
You Miss Knight, could you pull up 227 VV?
Demetrius, I had no idea Vert had put some dumb shit in his forehead. So no, everyone did not know that. Those of us who are like middle-aged, we had no idea. I knew who Lil Uzi Vert was because my son likes his music. I never heard about the stupid diamond thing until I watched this case.
A6B? Yesterday, you indicated that, now this is from a video.
Correct.
With Mr. Nichols.
Correct.
Rolling a blunt.
Correct.
Okay. And then there's other individuals there, correct? Correct? There's other individuals in the room?
Correct.
Okay. And then it's on Mr. Stillwell's phone, so you're presuming that Mr. Stillwell was filming the video?
It was filmed from his device. So
Right,
yes.
right. Okay. So yesterday, you made a claim that a gun, well, what did you say? A gun is, I don't want to jumble your words. What are you claiming about the guns on this table?
A gun is what?
You identified or thought a gun was consistent with something?
It could be consistent with a Glock 27.
Could be consistent. Okay. And which gun is it?
This is great.
The one towards the back right here.
Okay. Could be consistent with a Glock 27. All right. It could also, well, first of all, are you a firearms expert?
I'm not.
Okay. You're just someone who's owned a Glock before.
Several, yes.
Okay. And before yesterday, had you ever made the claim that, oh, I reviewed this video and this appears to be a Glock 27?
That was my first time testifying yesterday, so where else do I make?
What about reports? Did you ever write a report and say, I reviewed this is very important. I reviewed this video that was in Mr. Stillwell's phone, and I believe that could be consistent with a Glock 27.
Well, while reviewing the evidence in preparation for trial, when I took a better look at this video and found it, it was probably 2 or 3 days before I testified, and that's when I first had to really research through and look at photos and kind of isolate what kind of gun that was.
So the answer is no, you didn't write a report.
No.
Okay. And certainly the first time saying it to me or anyone on this side was yesterday in court.
Correct.
Okay. You say it.
It's crazy. So the first time we ever hear this shit is here in court. And yeah, they did not want Ashley Merchant's client in here. They did not want Merchant in their courtroom.
Looks like it could be consistent, or it could be consistent with the Glock 27 based on the shape of the bottom of the grip. Is that correct? Okay. It could also be consistent with a Springfield firearm, correct?
I'm not familiar with Springfield, but from how the magazine looks, also it could be consistent with a Glock.
Okay. It could also be consistent with a 6 Hour. It could also be consistent with Smith & Wesson, correct?
I'm familiar with a Glock.
Right, because you're not a firearms expert. You're only familiar with these Glocks.
I never claimed to be Mr. Schardt.
Okay. Well, you should start identifying guns.
You sure acted like one.
Kind of making yourself an expert, but you're not an expert, are you?
I'm not.
Okay. And you don't even.
I just love it. I just love you. Oh my God, this is so good.
No, whatever this gun is, if Mr. Stillwell left with that gun or didn't leave with that gun, you don't know if anyone left with that gun. You don't know whose gun that is.
Correct, but we don't know that they didn't.
Okay. Right.
Great.
Your Glock 27, does it expel shell casings?
I don't own a Glock 27. When I was purchasing a subcompact Glock, I was going back and forth between the 27 and the 43. I prefer to shoot a 9mm, so I went with the 43.
So you don't even own a Glock 27?
I just said when I was researching the two, handling the two with the gun dealer.
So now you don't own a Glock 27. You were researching it, which means you were handling the gun at the gun dealer. That's your experience with the Glock 27.
I never asserted that I owned one. I've seen one. I've handled one. I can recognize one.
So you've handled one at a gun dealer, and that's what you're basing the identification on?
I've recovered a good bit of guns in my career. I know what they look like.
All right, let me ask you this. Since you know about guns, at least through your career, Glock 27s, when you shoot them, do they expel shell casings?
Yes.
Okay, Glock 27s, when you shoot them, do they make a loud bang?
Yes.
When you shoot a Glock 27, does it create a muzzle flash?
It should. I mean, when you shoot it, like during the day, you wouldn't see it, or sometimes at night you can see it, but...
Okay, and when you shoot a Glock 27, does it emit gunshot residue?
If it's inside of a contained area, yes. It would.
Okay. All right.
Does it emit gunshot
residue?
residue?
Something seems small, it's huge. When we're talking about the post. All right, well, there's one thing, surveillance video. You would agree that starts huge and remains huge? Like, surveillance video is a pretty important part of the case.
Every investigation is different, but yes.
Okay. You've seen the BP video, correct?
I have.
And you've seen it, Detective Hogan showed it to you?
He did, for the purpose of identifying the individuals, yes.
Right, okay. Have you seen the FedEx surveillance video?
I have.
Okay. I'd like to watch it with you. Is that okay?
Sure.
Mr. Kokomo? No.
The 16th, so it would have been after that.
Okay. Well, are you aware that, and maybe this will help you answer this question, you're aware that Detective Hogan swore out warrants against my client without ever viewing the FedEx video?
I can't speak to what he did or did not do.
Okay. When did you most recently watch the FedEx video?
Probably like a week ago.
Okay. How many times in total have you watched the FedEx video?
A few times.
A few times? When you say a few times, how many is it?
And I've watched it a year ago, or a couple years, like 2 years ago. I watched it.
Okay. Mr. Kokomo, if you could please publish the FedEx.
Okay. Here we go.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Kokomo.
There's the white Audi. Remember, we slowed this down 2 weeks ago, or whenever they presented it first. We went through this very carefully and slowly.
Pause that video right
Okay, now you've got the two cars.
Investigator Viverito. At this point in the video, as we have it paused, you would agree that Mr. Drinks' red Versa is on the left, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You would agree that Mr. Stillwell's rented white Audi with tinted windows
Correct.
is in the middle. And you would agree that Mr. Nichols, actually Miss Lewis, Mr. Nichols' wife, that Ford Fusion is on the right, correct?
Either the right or staggered behind it, yes.
Okay. And according to your investigation, Mr. Drinks is alone in the car.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Stillwell is in the car with Mr. Garlington per your investigation.
Correct.
And Mr. In the car, the Ford Fusion, we have Mr. Nichols driving,
Correct.
Mr. Boyer,
Correct.
and Mr. Farley.
Correct.
And your theory is that while at this light, Mr. Stillwell shot Mr. Drinks. Correct?
I'm not the homicide investigator, so I'm going along with the evidence that was presented to me by homicide, but yes, that's consistent with what Detective Hogan, his case.
Well, you know, he swore out a warrant for Shannon Stillwell for actually shooting Mr. Drinks.
That's consistent with what Detective Hogan had found.
Okay. In this video, you can see headlights, correct?
Correct.
You can see traffic lights.
You see tail lights and traffic lights, yes.
And you can see brake lights, correct?
Correct.
All right, awesome.
Awesome.
Mr. Kokomo, could you just play the video? And I'm just going to ask you to look at the cars closely.
Mm-hmm.
Is it awesome? Here we go.
Okay, pause, Mr. Kokomo, please. All right, so we're paused at 1:02:36 on this video. At this point, Mr. Stillwell in the white Audi is pulled off, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and Mr. Nichols and with Mr. Boyer and Mr. Farley have pulled off.
Correct.
Okay, while they were there at that light with Mr. Drinks, did you observe any muzzle flash on that video?
No, and with this quality of video, I would not expect to see it.
Okay, right. You just see brake lights and traffic lights and headlights, but no muzzle flash. Okay, I got you.
A muzzle flash is much, much, much dimmer.
Right. So you just see brake lights and traffic lights and headlights. Gotcha. It's a work of art, y'all.
Than a brake light. Like if you're shooting at night, you're hard pressed to see your own muzzle flash.
Firearms expert again.
I'm telling you from my experience from shooting a fire, we do take night firing courses.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Gunshot residue. You aware that the headliner from Mr. Stillwell's car, the Audi, was collected and tested for gunshot residue?
I am.
You ever talked to Alexander GBI analyst Alexander Coven about the results that he found?
I have not.
Okay. And you are aware that warrants were taken out certainly before any of those GSR results were in, correct?
Correct.
Talk about tint. You've been preparing with the state. You know that the state has said that Mr. Stillwell had tint applied to his windows of that white Audi upon renting it, correct?
Correct.
In violation of the rental agreement, I may add.
Correct.
Okay. And this tint
Doug's face.
was applied on Flat Shoals Road, according to the district attorneys, at about 6:30 p.m.
According to him, yes.
Okay. You were able to observe the white Audi on March 16th?
I did not walk. Wasn't that interested in it at that point, so I did not walk. It was very, very dark.
Have you seen the pictures that Miss Antoinette Green took of the white Audi after it was recovered when Mr. Stillwell was arrested?
I have.
Did you see any damage to the tint, specifically the front driver passenger tint on that car?
I did not.
Mr. Kokomo, if you could rewind again. No, actually, you know what? I'm sorry. Keep it here. Keep it here. Just play. I'm sorry, Mr. Kokomo. Okay. You saw that car speed up behind Mr. Stillwell? Pause it, please. You saw
Yes.
that? Mr. Stillwell, you're aware that he, well, we've already stated this, he was victimized in the past. Someone shot through the rear windows, killing Tiara Jones.
Yes.
This is such a good point. Max is making such a good point.
And now,
So
the
good.
car that sped up is next to Mr. Drinks, correct? Or approaching Mr. Drinks?
It's approaching, but it stopped short of Mr. Drinks.
Okay, Mr. Kokomo, if you could please play it. Okay. So now there's a pause. So now there's one car next to Mr. Drinks, correct?
It's still not next to him. You can see from the angle that it looks like the front of the car. I'm sorry. The front of the car is like, from what I can see, looks like the front of the car. The front wheels are still towards the back of the vehicle. It's not like exact with the car.
Okay. Ms. Kokomo, if you could please play.
And then that car U-turns. What's this person walking to?
See that car make a U-turn?
I do.
Okay. What car was next to Mr. Drinks when that car suddenly made a U-turn?
Judging by how the lights are, that car still appears to be back a little bit, but next to it.
All right, so now you're making three-dimensional evaluations, but we can't see a muzzle flash. Off this
A muzzle. Mr. Schardt, I'm going to explain to you. When you're, I don't know if you're mischaracterizing it. when you go to the range, for example, to fire your weapons at night and there's a line of shooters, it's not bam, 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 lights everywhere. It's a very, very muted if it shows. So this far away with this quality of video, I would not expect to see that.
Okay, let's talk about this car.
Sure.
This car makes a U-turn. Did you see, is there like a train that's crossing that would have let this person know, no, I need to find another route?
No.
Is there an officer saying, hey, turn around, you can't come this way?
No.
Is there an animal crossing the road that would have made this man do a U-turn?
No.
Who is this? Whose car is this that made a U-turn?
I don't know.
Okay, do you know if anyone ever tried to use these license plate readers to determine whose car that is so we can figure out, talk to them about why they made that sudden U-turn?
That would be part of Detective Hogan's investigation, but I do not.
Okay. Could.
And that was it. And that was it. Max was on freaking fire, and the whole stream just went out. Just gone. Just gone. Okay, but that's fine because well, I've been with you for 2.5 hours now. We're still on day 2. Okay, so couple things. I agree with the assessment that Whitaker is the best thing to happen to this case, in that they finally started moving and she started listening and she started making important rulings. And one of the important rulings she made, and I don't remember which day she did it on, but she made a ruling on a directed verdict. She ruled that there's no possible way any jury could put the possession charges on Yak because there was no evidence that Yak was ever in possession of those drugs or those guns. So she ditched all of those. Although there is some talk going on the Twitterverse about how there was some issue with charge 131 and 133. Okay, and so now it appeared like the state did not properly charge, I think, 131, so they had to go with 133. But then now they're allowed to. I don't know. It's messy. It is so messy. Shariah, welcome. Hi everyone. Raynette, everyone. I believe that those goods were stolen, the jewelry, but I think they were stolen by individual officers for themselves. I don't think that jewelry was used to pay off Fani. My understanding is that Fani Willis misappropriated part of her budget to pay Nathan Wade. That was my understanding. She misappropriated some federal funds and misappropriated some local funds. So, so here's what's going to happen now. On Monday, the closing arguments are going to begin. I believe the state will take the whole fucking day because I hate them and they take 2-3 more hours to do anything. They take 2-3 more days to do anything than they should. So I do think the state will take the whole day on Monday for their closing. Then Tuesday, we will have the closing of Schardt and Weinstein. And Weinstein's closing will be shorter because he got directed verdict on several of the charges his client's facing. Pretty much, if this jury does not think Yak murdered whoever they're saying Yak murdered, then my understanding is Yak pretty much walks free. As to Shannon, I think Schardt's closing is going to be much, much longer. Then the jury will be read the charges, and that will probably take a whole day in and of itself to get the jury charges, to have the instructions. That's going to be on Wednesday. Then on Thursday, they're going to go home and eat Thanksgiving and tell all their friends about it. And on Friday, they're going to go shopping and tell all their friends about it. And on Saturday, they're going to tell their friends about it. And on Sunday, they're going to tell their friends about it. And on Monday, they're going to show up. And I don't know, maybe they'll deliberate for a few hours, maybe, but I highly doubt it. And boom, everyone goes home. I just don't see that the state has met their burden of beyond a reasonable doubt. I have been watching for an entire year, and I don't see any beyond a reasonable doubt. As far as the Shamel Drinks murders go, it's very clear that Shannon Stillwell didn't commit that. Very clear. And the fact that they didn't prosecute and charge him on the Nutt murder, I think is going to have this jury say, well, he didn't do the Nutt murder. So there goes his possession of a firearm while committing a felony charges and several other charges. So the interesting thing, I saw an analysis from another attorney who said that, you know, basically in Atlanta, the way the RICO is written, you could get RICO charges if you didn't charge people with RICO. Like the jury could be charged with RICO for talking. So I don't know. I really don't know about that one. I think all the rest is going to be totally tossed. I think the RICO is going to be, because the charge is not actually a violation of the RICO, it's a conspiracy to commit the RICO, which is basically existing. The way that this attorney broke it down on Twitter was like, basically all of us should be charged under Georgia's RICO law, because like if you exist, you could have been found to be in a conspiracy to commit RICO. So they might get charged with RICO. The jury might have to find them guilty with RICO just because that damn law is written so wildly. I am not concerned. The page has never been a judge over the RICO. That makes me happy. That makes me think that they're maybe not abusing it as much as I thought they were. If she was like, oh, this is my 8th RICO case, we'd have some real issues. I'd be very concerned. Very concerned. So there's like 20 judges there. So maybe each of them should have done maybe one RICO case at all. This RICO is total BS. And if you go back to my RICO video where I describe it, I explain why. I mean, it's gross. It's un-American. The Fed can say the state can no longer use RICO, but the only way for the Fed to really say that, so to speak, is for the Supreme Court to say it can't be done. And I just don't see that with our current Supreme Court. So I hope that answers everyone's questions. I saw some people talking about Diddy. I am covering Diddy. He is trying for bond again. It will for sure be denied. Oh yeah, totally, Raynette. I'm a gang sympathizer, obviously, according to Fonnie Willis's standard. But on Diddy, the bond is going to be denied. I mean, they're saying that he's using third parties to control people. He's having his kids use social media to influence the jury pool. He ain't going nowhere. He ain't going nowhere. So my understanding is that Diddy feels really confident in that courtroom, and that just tells me how narcissistic he is. He is a fool. So I'll do another video maybe this week to update about Diddy. I will maybe go live on Friday morning. I don't know. I'll let you guys know what I decide. My son is coming into town on Tuesday evening, and I really miss him, and I really want to hang out with him. So I might not, but he does sleep late, so we'll see. Thank you, as always, for your likes, your subscribes. Please do not send money through YouTube. Hit like, hit subscribe, because I still, would like subscribers and such. But if you want to send some funds, send it through the Cashapp. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today and your wonderful commentary. And I will see you again next week.